Mr. Abel. Hey, do you want to check that? Yeah, we got an important guest. You want to make sure we're running?
Like, you don't trust me? Come on,
I don't
man.
trust you. So every important guest we've had, he forgets to like do something and it's not recording. So I had to make sure. And this one he's nervous about, so I want to make sure he's doing it right.
What are you talking about? Why would I be nervous with the person that I share my home with, share my bed with?
Oh, I'd be nervous. There's a lot there, man. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot of love, a lot of respect.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We are live tonight. Well, I guess we're not live tonight.
We are live because we don't edit. I don't know if people... Well, you know what? We never told them that.
You edit.
We edit sound. Like, so, like, high pitch or anything that's going to, like, sound
He puts, like,
bad.
rooster crows over me.
No,
and...
we haven't done that in a very long time. So we just don't. This is live. We don't edit. The only thing we edit is so that it sounds good either in your car or at home.
So, hey, man. Abel calls me up and says, hey, we got a special guest. What do you think? And I'm like, who's the guest? Let me know. He said, Gloria. And I was like, are you going to climb her up, man? Are you going to be the jerk that just goes in there and we have Gloria in here?
So for you guys that don't know who Gloria Yesenia Martinez is, Gloria Yesenia Martinez, everybody? She's my wife. She's my wife. She is the co-owner here at Black Belt Collective, and she's the one that okayed all the expenses in this very expensive podcast
That's
room.
what we're going to get down to, though. Did she okay it? Did she okay
it? She did. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this. This is kind of funny and different, especially for me, right? But welcome, Gloria.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on.
For inviting me.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
Thank you for coming. This is exciting. So really early on when we started doing this, we're like, who can we have on? And your name came up, and there's like cook for me. There's certain people that we're like, oh, we got to have them on. We got to have our group on, And then there was a point in the pandemic where it was like, well, I don't know, I don't know who, if she'd come on, I don't know. And I was like, oh, you're backing out. What's going on here? What's going on here?
No, what it is that I really didn't know if she would come on. She watches our podcasts every now and then. So she knows what it's about, but I didn't know if she was interested in coming on, because for the most part, Gary and I both know this. Like, nobody believes in this. Like, no way. Like, straight up. Like, only the 50-something people or 100 people that watch this. Well, it's actually 157 people that watch this.
Yeah.
But nobody's counting.
I know, nobody's counting. But you guys, I mean, we love you guys, and thank you so much for always supporting us. But for the most part, the people around us that, like, actually know us and know that we're knuckleheads, like, they're like, why are you guys doing that? Like, why do you guys spend hours and hours editing? Why do you guys spend so many hours doing podcasts? Why are you guys in that? It's like, guys, get to work. And we're like, we are working. We're building something.
Nobody believes it's actual work. Yeah. But, we have, like, strenuous nights thinking of this stuff. I don't know if you really know about that. Like, there's times where I know you have to be asleep because he's, like, texting me, what do you think about this? I'm like,
that sounds about all right.
Yeah. I'm like, Gloria's going to be asleep.
So Gloria, what time do you usually go to sleep?
Between 9 and 9:30.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
No way. Not 9 and 9:30. She was like 8:30. She's already like yawning. 9 o'clock, she's
yawning
in
by
dead sleep.
Yeah.
So by 11 o'clock at night when you're dead asleep, he's like, what are you doing?
So for you guys that don't know, I'm definitely a night owl. Like, man, that's when the best of me is, like, in the evening. The evening is just like the start of my day. And at night, like, ideas, just like dreams and wants. And
one of the best things that I found out about him is if I don't answer him back, like, he gets really like, are you mad at me? What's going on? What are you doing? How come you're a jerk? No. You're not answering me.
No, I'll clarify that. It's not even, are you mad at me? Because I don't care if you're mad at me. It's, what's going on, dude? Like, are you all right? Are you depressed? Are you in a dark corner right now, like drinking or something? Like, it worries me, so I want to check on him.
I'm a little crazy, so.
He has a lot of red flags. Let's talk about this. So what happens is that Gary disappears, and when he disappears, I know something's going on within him, because that's his MO. Like, he'll just disappear. You know what? People at home, if you guys don't know this, my wife is an expert at all this therapy and the human psyche.
We'll get into that.
Well, I'm just giving a little. The reason why I'm pointing all these red flags out is so that Gloria can help you out
today. She can help me out today. I see. I see how that goes.
I'm off the clock.
Oh, okay. So
those
you're not
are
gonna-
your private conversations.
So Gloria, he's like, he's become this extension of you, and lets everybody know, like, this is what's wrong with you. This is the arguments we have.
I did not know that was happening. I'm sorry.
No.
These are the arguments we have. I said, you're not your wife. You don't get to like tell me how I'm feeling right
You're
now.
so silly. I always preface
See,
it
he's
with.
sweating already.
I
Look
always preface it with, I am not an expert. I'm no expert.
well, my
but
wife is, and I can say whatever I want.
That's so silly. We've been talking a lot. She's just like waiting her turn right now.
No, that's good. So, yeah. So give us like your expertise area and what that is. So one of the reasons why I said, yeah, let's have Gloria on now, because I know he won't edit it for another week or so. So that means that means that May is Mental Illness Month. For
Mental illness? Wow.
Well, I don't know.
Wellness month.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Why you get all nervous?
I'm not getting
We
nervous
started talking.
because I can't think when you're laughing.
Hey, we started talking about mental health, and you get all nervous. You start breaking down, man.
I do. I do. Hey, man. It's like an ongoing thing with me.
Is
I'm
it?
just telling
It's an
you.
ongoing thing with both of us. Why do you think we're doing this?
So I tell my wife that you're coming on, right?
Okay.
And she's like, oh, good, that's cool, and usually she's not like, that's cool. Usually she's like, you two are idiots for doing
Well,
this
we
podcast. Doing this podcast.
Touche.
And she was like, no, but I like to hear what she has to say on your podcast. So that means she's hinting to me that she's listening. She tells me she doesn't. So that means that there might be a hint there that she's listening, which is good.
Gabby's crossing over to the dark side.
No, she won't admit that. But then she said, that's good because now you have something to talk about for May. And this is what May is. And I was like, well, that we meant to do that.
There
What
you
do you
go.
think?
It worked out.
Yeah, it all worked out. So give us a lowdown of what you do, where you started, and what you're doing now.
Wow.
It's a big.
That's a big question. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have a master's in clinical psychology, and I've been in the field for about 15 years. I remember being like 5 years old and watching Perry Mason, and I was pretty certain I'd be a lawyer. That was my calling. And
You would have been a good lawyer.
I think so. And then I went to UC Santa Barbara, and I was already kind of burned out with school. I was one class away from my AA by my freshman year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was doing all AP classes and part-time community college classes in high school.
Oh, wow.
And so we were an ambitious bunch. And so I was just like a fish out of water. I moved out of my home, and that in and of itself was not very easy to do. But I always had this idea that I'd be a lawyer. And so I didn't really have a mentor. I didn't know what I was supposed to major in or who to talk to. And I just randomly picked classes. And I picked this degree called Law and Society. I thought it had something to do with law, but it really didn't. And so then I went into political science and Spanish as a pastime, as a hobby. And I was one class away from finishing my bachelor's in Spanish when I was like, oh, I need to declare political science because I didn't come to school for Spanish or anything to do with language. And so when I graduated, I've always called this my quarter life crisis. If my dad ever watches this, I was pretty certain I wasn't ready to move back home, which I thought, the Mexican woman in me thought that's what I got to do. I'm not married. I graduated. I got to go back. And I love my dad. We have a special relationship, but those were pretty difficult times for us. And so in my quarter life crisis, I'm having a meltdown saying, what do you do with this degree? And on the, and so in the need to get a job and support myself, I started working at a domestic violence agency as an advocate in Santa Barbara at the emergency shelter. So we would get calls 24/7 while at the shelter during our shift. We'd have on call. We'd get calls at 2 or 3 in the morning. We'd have to use an actual Thomas guide to find our place around the most remote places, dark places with no lighting, and finding cops and calling, to say, where are they? And they're like, they left. You took too long. I literally had like a 15-minute response window, which was not very realistic because it was a pretty big distance that we had to cover. But I always saw the therapists come in, and boy, those kids and the moms, they so look forward to seeing her. And she just had this energy about her. And I'm like, whatever she has, I want it.
Oh, cool.
And so I basically, one of my sorority sisters started the MFT program in Santa Barbara.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. MFT, so for people at
Marriage
home
and Family Therapy.
that don't know.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Oh,
And
okay.
so
We have an audience of 157 people.
So here I am. I'm doing my advocate work, and I sign up, and I get accepted into this, but I can't say that I knew much about psychology other than the training I had, which was actually phenomenal training as an advocate at the shelter. And so when I start my program, I'm now the supervisor of the shelter. So I'm in charge of the shelter, and I'm going to start my program, and I'm doing that full time too. And so I do my program in the evening, and I work during the day. And finally, I quit or left that job so that I can work at a child abuse agency, the leading child abuse agency in town. And so their specialty was child sexual abuse, trauma, domestic violence, including folks who maybe, were offenders of minors. And so we did forensic. We had a whole unit for forensic to do the interviews with children when they were getting interviewed for reports. So I had the most amazing training. I was so blessed. And it was a very passionate group of people who were really dedicated to the work. And so that just sparked my interest in all things to do with there's this field that is becoming more known called neuropsychology. So it's really kind of that mind-body connection, and just more information about how some things are really dictated by what part of our brain is impacted. And so that's been a very unique passion of mine. I've always worked with kids, so it's something I'm really, really that's really important to me. I think that the ability to work with children is a unique skill set, but a really important one, because you're not just working with them, you're working with their system.
When you say working with kids, what does that mean? What does that entail?
So I'm a registered play therapist supervisor, and what that entails is just like a certification that incorporates art and play and games in therapy, and also as a tool to really bring out that child's story. I know from an adult perspective, we think about talking, and so sometimes people want to talk to a 4-year-old, and they're pretty good. If you know Jimena, they can talk.
Yeah.
But
Jimena, our daughter.
So I like to get to what's underneath that, and I've done these strategies and these tips, these techniques and tools with adults too. And so using coloring and writing and whatever they want, but I try to have the things available in my office during our appointment, and it's just a different style.
Can you give us an example? You set up a play area, and then what are you looking for? What are some signs that you're looking for, and what does that tell you?
So based on my training, and people use play differently, but you can really look at what someone chooses, how they engage the activity, if they engage you or not, to really assess maybe developmentally where they're at. So if I'm 15, but I'm choosing Candyland, there might be something to be said about that.
Come on, Abel.
If they just want to, if they're really rigid.
Sorry.
You're so
I had to do it.
But if they're really rigid and they're like, it has to be the rules, or very competitive, so things like that. And so I like the ability to let them bring their world into my space versus me going in to tell them what to do or how to do it. And hopefully in that conversations, these things happen, intentionally and organically without me having to say, this is what you're going to do. And sometimes it's really hard for parents because they're like, did they talk to you about this? They tell you the whole story, but that's not what
you're there to do.
If they're like my daughter, that's what she's going to do. Right. And it's fascinating because, since she was very little, Jimena has always played with, like little figurines and made scenes and things. And so while I was getting this training, it was just really special to be able to
get into training.
Just see a window into her world.
Yeah,
But not all kids play like that. So I just thought, wow, it was just fascinating. I've always been really intrigued by just her intelligence and her curiosity. But now in this season of life, so I started working at Kaiser Permanente 10 years ago this week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so I was there as a therapist for 6 years in the Department of Psychiatry. Prior to that, I was in South LA for about 5 years. So I would see people in their homes, at McDonald's, at the school.
Which let's talk about that for a second. Mm-hmm. That was a little scary. So
of course,
the area she was in and driving to and around town and around cities, like she had to find parking, walk to these people's homes, and usually these people's homes were in areas where there was a lot of violence. There was gang activity. There was drug sales, stuff like that. As a matter of fact, there was a couple of times where, you were in some close calls, right? Do you remember that car accident when you were like...
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I really actually remember this season as very positive. I think that...
It was a stressful season for me.
But it was... I think when I was in it, probably not my favorite, but now I look back at it with high regard.
Probably learned the most.
I learned so much.
And she helped a lot. She got to help the community a lot. So.
And I'm grateful. I think everyone who goes into the mental health field needs to see life as it is for people in different ways.
So people that don't know, I worked for Pepsi Cola probably right around that same, a little further out. But South LA isn't just South LA. No. When you hear people say South LA, it's usually on the south side of the 101, and it's usually like the 710, and you have all these weird boundaries.
Yes.
It can be from anywhere from Watts to tip of Compton to into Inglewood, correct, all the way back over.
Your office was actually located in...
it was basically across the street from USC.
Yeah.
So there's that was a hub. Mine was in Lamar Park, which is a historically Black community. And so that was a really wonderful experience culturally. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, so my perspective was, I was always really surrounded by the Latino community and really, Mexican community. At that time, that was the predominant. In my school, 76% of the population was Latino.
That's pretty crazy.
So when people talk about, diversity and being a minority, I was not growing up in my space demographically, but I didn't know what it felt like to be a minority until I went to Santa Barbara. Then I really felt different.
Yeah.
And I could speak to it kind of from an intellectual perspective, like, yes, racism and all that. But the true things that really stood out to me where I really felt different and where some of my advocacy has come from and my awareness as a therapist was really, sadly, my time there. I was in Santa Barbara for about 6 years. But I think it really pushed me to grow and to be aware of some of the struggles and pain that's associated with that. I know some of those things I may have lived, but, I was within my gente and with my people and my family. And so, we talked a lot about, race and discrimination. My family came around the civil rights era and they all coped with it differently. They were teenagers, but a lot of it was kind of this history and this story. So that was really rich for me. But to be immersed in a situation where I was treated differently and I was looked at differently and like, the way I speak and language, it was like a whole nother planet for me.
Sure.
Mm.
But needless to say, when I went to South LA, that was an important thing for me to be aware of.
Yeah.
And yes, and so in many areas, I love that you brought that up. So my office was in Lamar Park. You go up the hill. And these $1 million homes, beautiful.
Yeah.
You go on the other side, right, towards the freeway, and so the opposite. And I mean, I would see some bizarre things, but to what he's saying, so there was this family I'd see, and I got there one afternoon, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there was a drive-by this morning," and
She had just missed it by like,
and I was like, "Okay," and then I was leaving, and this guy was speeding or something. I think he was on a motorcycle, and so he hit a car that hit the next car that didn't hit my car. And it was a Friday at 4. And I thought, if my car is hit, and selfishly, I was like, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Here for a long
And it was
time.
super dramatic. Call the ambulance. People were yelling and screaming, and oh my God. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope my car's not hit. Like, I don't want to have to stay
because
here.
then she would have been stuck there in that area, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And, and to me, those are people's homes. And I felt comfortable going, but you have to always be spatially aware. And I can tell you, as a woman and growing up in the Valley, I was 10, and I learned to walk really quick, and you don't look either way, and people are whistling and feel entitled to, look at you. And I just kept walking.
Yeah.
So going there was no different than where I grew up. And I, and I moved around. And so the last place I lived in before going to college was pretty comfortable, but you never put your guard down. So I wasn't thinking like I knew it was less safe, but I had to have the same awareness.
I mean, listen, I know she's a tough girl and all, but I still wasn't. I mean, like, as a, I'm thinking about this as a husband. Like, I know that she can handle herself, right? She grew up very streetwise, and she even did Krav Maga for a couple of years and stuff. So she knows, she knows about the streets, how to stay, stay safe. But still, as a husband, like, you think about that and you're like, man, I don't like that. Like, she's out in these areas, and I know that she's helping the community, and I know she's doing a lot of work, but it was always worrisome. It was a burden.
During that time, it sounds like you grew a lot during that time. Like, I have a lot of family therapists that I have that are friends, and just because of what my wife's occupation is. And I know a lot of people that have done their clinical work in those areas. Same thing I hear, like, over and over again, like, the experience, if you're a Latina, you get a different experience than if you're a white lady who just goes in there to learn what she needs to learn. And it was kind of the opposite for me growing up. That's funny how you said you went to Santa Barbara and you kind of felt like... So I grew up, and he kind of knows what I'm talking about.
He grew up with the silver spoon and gold spoon.
No. Oh, jeez.
And the orange curtain.
It is the orange curtain. It is Orange County, right? But in Orange County... my mom met my dad, my stepdad.
Streets paved with gold.
Oh, come on.
He gets all angry, like he gets mad. Okay, hey, she's going to start writing down your red flags, dude.
Dude, she brings a coloring book for you. I saw it out there. I was like, what's this? You're about ready to do some coloring, aren't you? When she's pissed at you, she goes, Abel, I need you to do something for me. I know. It's a trick. It's a trick. But I get what you're saying by that, because... I was the exact opposite. I was a stepson in a whole white family. And then I got thrown into, like, the Mexican,
But that came after the fact.
So
for him, it was completely the opposite.
Opposite. And as you get older, it's harder to deal with. Because that's where a lot of that came when I was growing up. Because it was like, all right, you don't believe me? Okay. I had to pick and choose my battles. But I get that, and I get that feeling. So growing up, and then all of a sudden you move, and you go into, to a new college, and sorority, it sounds like, right? That's got to be an experience, too.
She was actually the president of her sorority.
I was for a little bit.
So you guys see a pattern, guys, right? At home, there's like an overachiever in her,
I'm the oldest. So it's a Latina sorority. It's different. It would be hard for me to explain, but for someone who felt so disconnected to see, 10 young women staring at me who looked so similar, and I felt understood by instantly, was like, just
relieving.
Home.
Yeah,
it was like
relieving.
home. And it was really what bridged that difficulty for me when I moved, because I was really lost. I really didn't know how to be on my own. I was not raised that way. I was raised to be very kind of obedient and do things the way that my family said they should be done, and that my dad said. And so to have these other women as role models, one of which went to this MFT program that I joined because she joined. Not, again, I didn't do research. I wasn't like, what's psychology? What's the best school? I didn't know any of that. I literally was like, there's 2 schools in Santa Barbara. I know one person who went to one of them. I think I qualify with my really bad GPA, so I'm going to apply, and
but that's how the world goes, right?
Yes.
That is exactly how the world goes, and you usually figure it out.
So I'm gonna back this story up a little bit because I do want them to understand at home and here, for the sake of the conversation, how easy was it for you to go to college? I mean, you got a full ride. Your parents were ecstatic. Your dad helped you and drove you every day and bought you a car. And...
He's setting this up. No, I've had a job since I was 13.
Wow.
And so I don't know where.
Well, you married into the right family. They probably put you to work when you came back in.
Actually, she made me a lot better, so it works out.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah. I definitely believe that.
I just really had this sense of needing to make money and to help out. And so my dad sat me down and was like, well, you're going to have a job. And so half your money is going to go to the bank.
That's old school.
And half of it is going to go to you. And half of it is going to go to the house. And I was like, okay. And so he was really wanting to ensure that I understood how to manage money and take care of it. The interesting part is the quote unquote half that went to me, which back in the day, gosh, I made $4.50 an hour.
At 13.
And that was so much money. And they told me that the biggest lesson, John, the person who hired me, who watched me help on the end of the month, help my aunt do the books for the hardware store.
Oh, wow.
It's Anawalt Lumber. And so he said, if you want to work here, you can work here as a cashier. And then he told me, I'm going to pay you, and I hope nobody's watching this, I'm going to pay you like the higher end of, the pay. He's like, but you never talk to people about how much you make. And I was like, okay. And, I had my aunts there. So, and they raised me. I have a, complex situation growing up, but my aunts raised me, and they were always like a surrogate mom to me. And so I had, out of my aunts, out of the 4, 3 of them worked there. And so, I mean, imagine them just coming in like, no, this is work ethic. And one of them said, when you're here, I'm not your tia. And I was like, and out of respect, I was like, I don't even know if I could refer to you by your name. And they were young. I mean, they were in their early 20s, but they had their routine. They also worked at a very young age at that store because they lived on that block. And so it was like a family business in North Hollywood. And so anyways, I started working as a cashier on the weekends. And that was my, in between all my classes. And so by the time I go to high school, taking me there was really out of the way because we lived in Panorama City. And so I work at the Vons that I can walk to. Because I still felt this need to have a job and help out. And my money really was going to the house anyway, the money that was for me and my little sister. So I have a little sister, Ceci. And so by this point, she's like 1 or 2, and I would love buying her clothes and I would take care of her. And so my dad still had me on this regimen of saving. And my senior year, I needed to get his taxes. And my college counselor, he was like, I really need this for your financial aid form. And so I go to my dad and I'm like, Dad, I need this. And he's totally, and this is where I get it from, a total conspiracy theorist. And he's like, why? Why do they need my Social Security? Why do they need my taxes?
That sounds like Abel. And
so I was like, I really need it for financial aid or else I can't go to college, which he wasn't very happy that I was going to leave, And so then I was like, I told my college advisor, and he looked really frustrated and concerned. And then by the time my dad gave me something, the deadline passed. So and at that point, to their credit, my stepmom and my dad are the hardest working people I know. They were making pretty good money. And so I missed the deadline. They looked on paper like they were pretty well off. And they were like, no, you don't get anything other than this like bizarre small stipend.
For a book or something like that.
Just enough, right?
Yeah.
And so, and you can't really apply for loans by yourself, at 18. So then I had to have the difficult conversation with my dad saying, just sign the paperwork, Dad. I will pay it. I will pay the loan.
Wow.
So he did agree, begrudgingly, but he agreed. And so I was able to go. The money, and he was like, and he told me, this is your goal, not mine. So if you want to go, you figure it out. Because I'd been working since I was 13, when it came to paying for AP tests, for college applications, for the dorm reservation, for all of that, I had the money. I had the money in the bank. And so when he said that, I was able to say, okay, I'll pay for it. So, you know, it really worked out that he had that strategy. I don't know where I would have come up with a couple $1,000 that year to make up for all these things, but I was able to do that, which I think was bittersweet for him because I know he's really happy for me. But that was really hard for him.
Sure.
He wasn't jumping up and down saying you're going to move.
It was just, I mean, listen, my father-in-law is awesome, dude. Like, I love hanging out with him. I love spending time with him. But in those times, it was just a different mentality. It was a different time. He was raised differently. We had this, I mean, both of us are first generation born here in the United States. And we are definitely, we still have some of that very old school like vibe in us, even in the daily stuff that we do. And even in our relationship, like there's stuff that maybe other people look at us and they're like, dude, these guys are so old school, like in the way we run things, you know? But I know that that's where that came from. It's not like my father-in-law is a bad guy or anything like that. It's just that that's part of the culture. And unfortunately, during that time, we still didn't, it still wasn't normal for someone like us, first generation here, to go to college. It was like, are you going to finish high school? Like that was the question.
And in my family, let's preface it with, and a woman, right?
Right.
So that was complicated.
Well, yeah, I think up until just 10 years ago, probably that hadn't really changed a lot.
Yeah, you know what's really cool? Like, I mean, you just said that, like, and a woman, and what makes me really, really proud of like what we do daily, and like what you and I and the team is building here at the studio, is that if you look on the mat, if you look at those pictures of instructors, like there's so many strong women here. I mean, we have a daughter, you know, and it's just. It really it really makes me proud of what we're doing because we're giving her an example, being the very first generation born here, and already like fixing that. Mm-hmm. Like, listen, yeah, I am old school. Like, yeah, I am strict. I do believe in certain things because that's how I was brought up. But I'm also smart enough, and we're smart enough to understand that we have to make some of those changes in order for our children, right, our daughter, to have a chance, a fighting chance, right?
So you know what's crazy? So growing up for me, my mom and dad, it wasn't that I wasn't smart. I found out now, I told him this last year, I have ADD, I have a learning disability, have all this stuff that I never even knew I had. Yeah. So I was never great in school, but teachers loved me. They were like, your potential is da-da-da. You know, I was always like the guy, you know, he's such a sweet guy, but he's not going. You know what I mean? Like, that type of thing. And my parents always just instilled in me, you're going to be working. So by the time you're a certain age, you need to get a job. And so, yeah, I started working probably 13, 14 for my dad and just odd jobs. But what's really cool to me is that you guys found education. Because for me, I didn't find it. It wasn't until I met my wife that her family was like, because they're all either teachers or professors and their expectations of their kids is like, of course you're going to college.
Right, that's exactly. As opposed to, oh, you're thinking of going to college?
Yeah.
You're going to finish high school?
No, they always go like, dude, hey, have you chosen school?
Just that conversation alone it's like night and day.
Yeah, totally different. Yeah. Like, I was like, hey, have you decided if you want to be a longshoreman or a plumber? You know? And then when I go there, they're like, hey, Gary, what do you do? And when they said, you're not in school, they were like, they were taken back. I was like, wait, don't look at me like I'm some kind of like alien.
But I do want to point something out that nowadays even, right, there's such a shortage of what's it called, trades, like trades jobs, right? Like, so electricians, plumbers, like all that stuff that you do with your hands. And the people that took up or are taking up some of those jobs, these younger people, are making crazy money.
So it's gone full circle when it comes to that significally. Because in the 90s it wasn't that way.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't that way.
And there was a stigma with it. I mean, let's be honest. There was a stigma. Like if you didn't go to college but you were doing that stuff, it's kind of like, oh, like, all right.
So now that they're saying like everybody went to school, they flooded the gate saying everybody needs to go to school. And what they found out is like, well, maybe not everybody's ready to go to school. And what happened was is with this growth of infrastructure, all these people left these jobs, and these jobs were just hanging. And so now, like, to do water treatment, to do all kinds of like skilled concrete or whatever, they're paying top dollar now. And now you can like live the dream, buy a house and live in California by doing that stuff, you know. But it took a long time to get to that point. Yeah. Anyway, so you're growing up, you're working, you're going to school, you're working probably as you're going to school, interning probably too, finding that. When do you find time to meet this knucklehead?
So that was later. That was after I graduated.
Oh, good. I was going to say, man, he'll just bring you down.
But
like
I, you know, just kind of sharing my quarter life crisis, I was determined. My dad was so concerned about me moving that, you know, really, I mean, and the reason I was motivated to go to school, I mean, that is not like a calling in my family per se. My grandpa is big on education, but my aunts were like, look, we didn't get to do this, but you can.
That's
you
cool.
can.
Like, go.
And so they were like, go for it, do it. And I just had this feeling, and I don't know where I got it from, that really with my dad, the only way I could leave the house was because I went to college or because I was married. And I was like, I definitely don't want to get married. So I'm just going to go to college. And so I, at a very young age, was tracking myself, figuring out the system and having to explain it to my dad, who just always expected me to get good grades. And just feeling like, how do I get myself there? So I had to figure this out. My cousin was a role model. She came from Chicago to go to USC, and she's a few years older than me. But we weren't really close and like talking all the time. So here I am in high school trying to wrap my head around this. And so for our families, us leaving the house for this reason was a big deal. And so I basically just knew that I had to figure it out. And so I did. And then when I graduated and went through this whole scenario, I just was like this I have to keep going to school because this advocate job is not going to pay the bills, but I still felt like I needed a master's to have a career. And so I to this day, I'm grateful that things just worked out the way they did, because I'm really passionate about the work that I do. I love being in the field. And so, you know, so I met him. I know this is not, people don't believe me when I say this. I met him at a club.
You went to clubs?
I went to clubs.
Abel was at a club too?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on, let's back up. So, obviously, I like clubs. I don't hide that. I love music. I love even
he
when
loves
I'm
clubs.
When I'm teaching.
I can see.
Wait, when I'm teaching, I even play like house music and you know, anyways, and so like, you know, we were at that time, we were young, right? And had a lot of energy, and you know, we'd go out. You know, a group of friends of ours would go out.
Yeah, you act like Mr. Suburb now, though, dude. I'm more like that way. You're more like Mr. Suburb now. Like, wait, let's tone it down.
So at this point, I had moved back from Santa Barbara. I'm living with my mother, and she's living also in the valley by like the Reseda area in Northridge. So we're living. I'm living with her, and.
It was so far from where I was. I was in Huntington.
It was so far. It was 50.
That's right. You
like, there's no.
It was 50 miles, and so
that's a lot. Like, you know.
Yeah, and you know, to where my parents are like oil and water, it really helped me with my situation, because whenever I was really like in a hole, I felt like I couldn't dig out of. And I knew that like my dad wasn't the person you call.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up with my mother, but she is a role model. I mean, she has her master's in nursing. She works at the VA. But I mean, grit, like pure grit. She is also just very driven. And so, and she did that later in life, like after kids, after everything. She's
you
always
probably inspired her.
So, you know, but I could call her and be like, I need $1,000. You know, and she would come through. But she was also so driven that she's like, you know, you're going to do something with this. And I, you know, like, and I think everything she ever learned, every time I was going to hit that milestone, she's like, okay, and you're going to do this. And then, you know, and I want you to do that. Now, I still did it my way, but I knew that that she would.
You had somebody to believe in you.
She would always support me.
Cool.
And be happy about it. My dad's way of showing support was to be really concerned and tell me like doomsday what's going to go wrong. And so, you know, so by the time we met, I had moved back, and because I'm like, I can't live with my dad, I don't think him and I could, you know, I've lived alone for 6 years, and I don't think we're gonna, you know, be okay together. You know, I'll move in with my mother. And so I would go out with my girlfriends who lived, you know, towards where we live now, right? So cut a hay and all that.
You got to remember, it's 50 miles, not only 50 miles apart, but like 50 miles with a ton of traffic. So it's like, we're talking about a couple hours. If we wanted to see each other, it's a couple hours either way, like going and coming back.
So there's this club called Vanguard, and one of my girls was like, you know, super.
So Vanguard, guys, for people at home, back in the day, that was like the place. It was a mega club. I mean,
so I remember
thousands of people fit in there.
I didn't go out much back then,
Dude,
but when I did, you know, I always tease him and Chapacito, you know, Senior. I always tease them. I'm like, did they meet at Redo? Because Senior, he never knew this, but Redo was the spot when I was growing up. It was like a club slash.
So the Red Onion, where my dad started working, right? He keeps on telling me, dude, that was like a happening place. It was like a club. They had like DJ there, and there was like always parties and stuff. I'm like, no, dude, it was like a family restaurant. Like, what do you like? You know, that's because the stories I heard growing up, you know, it's like the Red O. My dad was a cook, and then when we had my dad in here, he brings it up.
I literally told him, I was like, you never told your son that Red Onion was the spot, did you? He's like, oh, it had a lot of parties.
Yeah, he goes, yeah, they had a big bar. Yeah.
and later, and now to this day,
Vanguard.
I'll be training with Senior, though. It's so funny because I'm like, hey, what happened at the Red Onion, man? You can let me know. Let's go. I won't tell anybody.
That's funny.
We're not on mic now,
That's
Senior.
funny. So the Vanguard is this mega club, fit thousands and thousands of people out in L.A. They had, like always famous DJs from around the world. And along with the DJs, there was always like laser shows and stuff, you know. So imagine this gigantic place, like really just this massive place that had like lights and different sound rooms. So like in the main room, it'd usually be like someone from like a famous DJ from across the seas. And then you can go into like 5 other rooms that had.
This is how I'm picturing this, right? Fog lights going off, right? All of a sudden across the room, Gloria walks in. And there's Abel at the bar, and then they just see each other.
We had a little extra help. So our friends knew each other, and I wasn't supposed to be there that night. My girlfriend, who needed to be at the place that was the most popular and up and coming, was not convinced with what I like, which is just going to the place we already know.
Yeah, your spot.
And so she's like, nope, we're gonna go there. And we've heard from, again, our sorority sisters who live in LA. She's like, they want to go to this place with these guys.
To be fair,
and I really don't. I didn't really hang out with them often, especially around that time. I had my group of folks, but I hadn't met them up in forever. And so I knew we were meeting up the girls. I didn't know the girls were going to bring guys with them.
Oh, yeah, right. Get that. It was all planned. This is how it happened. Let me tell you the true story. I had a really close friend. She's not telling you the story. I had a really close friend, okay? Nick Villapando. What's up, man? How you doing? So Nick goes, hey, Abel, this girl I'm dating, I used to date her back in high school.
Yes.
She went to
Cal State LA.
She's a president of a sorority. Well, there's another president of a sorority in Santa Barbara, and those girls want to get together. My girl said that if I get some friends, they'll invite their friends, and we can be friends. That's how that goes.
That was how it was introduced to him. I went with one person. I went with one person, and we met up the girls.
I love it.
And so, yes, to what you're saying, it was pretty similar, because when they walked in, they took forever. We were there early, and by the time they got there, it was, totally happening.
Hey, listen, if you are anything, you do not get to a club early.
And this is Abel with the shirt on.
No, this is back in the day.
That's what I'm saying, with the chain.
Yeah.
This is other type of Abel.
This is a whole nother life. Yes.
This is his persona is the lion. Yes. This is the tiger. This is the tiger Abel. Right
so
here.
Needless to say, we had a blast. Ridiculous. We kind of like left the group. We were just in our own world.
Back up. So hold on. Let's talk about this. It's Gary's bringing it up. I was at the bar and I was about to order a margarita. All right. And I'm sitting at the bar. All my buddies are there. And then now the girls are coming in, right? Because they were in another room. I'm telling you, there's like so many different rooms. Right?
I know the place, so I know what you're talking about.
So they went into the bar that was outside. There's a beautiful bar on the outside. You get fresh air, like get out of the club, but it was still part of the club, right? And as they're coming in, meeting all the guys and girls are meeting, I was kind of watching from like maybe 15 feet away where the bar was, and I'm watching everybody kind of interact with each other. And I see this girl, like a really pretty girl, walking towards the bar, like she's going to go order a drink with her friend, right? So they get to the bar, and then she goes, "Hi, are you with the group?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my name is Abel. What's your name?" "My name is Gloria," And she goes, "What are you drinking?" I go, "Tequila." She goes, "Oh, that's my favorite." And then I go, "Well, let me get you a drink."
It's on.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
It's on.
So needless to say, we had such a good time and split from the group that back in the day with MySpace, the next morning, everybody was blowing up our pages saying, "Can we be in your wedding? Are we going to be bridesmaids?" So we had an instant connection.
Oh, you hooked up.
That's so funny.
And
we actually danced all night.
No, we went home our separate ways, but we just had this like chemistry.
Come on, it's okay. It's a modern time.
We're adults.
We're adults.
Yeah,
No.
Actually, what happened is that we danced all night, and there were so many different rooms. Yeah, there were so many different rooms that we were just like, all right, we danced here for like an hour, and we go upstairs to the other place.
She tamed the tiger, huh? That's why you're the lion now.
So, we had this instant chemistry, and that was 13 years ago, and we've kind of been inseparable since.
Nice. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time, but it was also a hard time because she had landed a job, and it was that was Lemur Park, right?
Yeah, that was the South LA job.
And in order for us to hang out, she literally had to drive 2 hours and 2 hours back. Like, it was just insane, and it was tough.
That was Corvette time, right?
Yes.
Yes. You're so dumb.
Yeah, so there was lots of just driving back and forth, which, I was doing because nobody lived where I did. I lived in Tarzana at the time, so it was kind of further than everybody else.
Yeah, that's kind of far.
Yeah.
Especially from Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
I didn't mind.
Damn, love at first sight. I like it. So, true story. This is how I met my wife. We've known each other since probably I was a junior in high school and she was a sophomore. And we were at a party my senior year, and a friend of mine brought her in and said, "Oh, you remember Gabby?" And I was like, "Yeah, I remember Gabby." And as she did that, something she did like caught my eye, just like where I was like, "Woo!" I was dumbfounded, I was like,
"What did she do?"
Just a smile, like a
little twinkle.
No, I told her right then and there, "I'm going to marry you."
That's either really romantic or really creepy.
She thought it was creepy. So it went the opposite direction. It didn't go this direction where we like meshed right away.
It wasn't chemistry.
No, it was the opposite. Me and her like oil and water at times, and that was definitely, she was like, gross.
That is
Get
funny.
out of here. Yeah. Story of my life. This is cool. I like hearing this backstory. I like hearing what Gloria has to say. I like seeing Abel kind of shaking his boots a little bit over here.
It's ridiculous.
Because I love hearing how like you're this hardworking, we'll call you Latina X now because that's the thing to call, to say now. But back then you're strong, you're coming up, you meet this goofball who's thinking he's the Scarface of Alhambra or whatever, and I could just see him in his Corvette. He's Mr. Positive now, but I picture this wholly different guy like back then.
Actually, the positivity.
Wolf of Wall Street kind of guy.
Well, but you have to be really positive if you're doing business like that. I mean, like, it was all, like, I worked with my dad, like, side to side, you know what I mean? So,
I'm not going anywhere.
You had to be, yeah.
That's what I think.
I'm not going. Yeah. No, it was a lot of work, but you had to be really positive because you're in sales. Ultimately, you're selling real estate in all of LA and Orange County, and it was just about pumping, like just working, making the money, closing the deals, and you have to stay really positive with that because it could get old, it could get overwhelming.
So we get a little bit into the origin story. We hear kind of like where you guys met and how you guys met and how things kind of came about. Where's he at? Like, is Abel Mr. Romantic, and does he like go, hey, will you marry me, like on the spot, or is he the guy that sets it up and makes this big thing, or?
No,
You're really digging right
I
now.
am digging.
This guy.
No, I met him at the height of the recession.
So she's letting you off the hook on this.
It was really difficult times for him.
Olive Garden and some vino.
You know, it was. I when he met me, I was like, I'm gonna buy a house. That was just what I was working towards. I was saving towards that. So I'm one of those people who kind of does brick by brick. I like some more safety and stability, and so I was already. I was starting my career. I was working towards getting licensed as a therapist. So when he met me, I was like, the next goal for me is buying a house. So when he was unable to have, business and just the recession hit and real estate was not producing what it did, it was very different for him to be in a space to not have everything that he had when I met him. And that literally, I met him in April, and then by June or July, just like everything stopped. And so, I think...
So what you're saying is it humbled him.
It changed things for both of us.
Okay.
I think he thought that things would be a certain way, but I've just never lived that life. So I just said, well, you'll get there when you get there. Figure out what you're passionate
For her, it was
about.
just like whatever. Like you would just keep on working and you just build it. And I'm just like, I don't think you understand.
Yeah,
I was on top.
and I was like, that
was tough.
When you
I believe it.
Yeah.
I totally believe it.
When you go up that high and you fall, it hurts. And so I just figured, like, you got to figure that out for yourself. Do what you're passionate about. I was never like, get a job to get a job. Like, I really wanted him to find something that made him happy.
That's cool.
And he never, at that time, I don't want to say never. I mean, I know he was probably happy about, the lifestyle or the money and working with his dad. I did get the opportunity to like visit him at the office with his dad, which I thought was really special to see them together. And so I think for me, at that point, he wasn't expressing this excitement to stay in real estate, and he did what he needed to as long as he could. But then, when I saw him start, at just being more involved at the other studio, I just,
martial arts.
I saw him really find a connection to something he was passionate about. So when we talked about that at that point, again, I'm still doing my thing. Like at this point, I'm licensed. I'm just kind of moving up for myself professionally.
You're on your path.
I'm just like, all right, like nothing's going to change. The house was purchased and we're just going to figure it out. And, nothing is going to change other than the fact that it'll be a blessing when this occurs and you find it, and it'll really help our family for you to do something you're passionate
he was
about.
Still trying to like find himself, right?
I think we all are, we're all always trying to,
trying to get him.
Well, here's
Look,
what's
he's gonna go
funny.
into something now.
Here's what's funny is that
Get the coloring book. Get the
real
coloring
estate.
book.
So real estate was like a passion of mine. Like it was like of careers. It was like a first love, right? Because I loved the like dealing with contracts. I loved negotiations. It really was like, it was like sexy to me. There was a future there, and somewhere along the way, just being in there. I mean, 28 years being there. I got burned out. I got burned out, and by that time, I was already doing Krav Maga. Krav Maga had helped me along with my wife and another friend, Adrian, that's a compadre now, and obviously my family. But I was like spiraling, man. I was like spiraling out because, like she said, like you go, it's a longer fall, right, when you reach the top, and then I was just like, I had this like empire being built, being so young, and then taking a hit like that, and then trying to like regroup, and then not being passionate about what I'm regrouping for, because I really don't believe in it anymore. Yeah. Because I feel like I'm burnt out, and I feel like, there was a lot going on in the industry that I didn't like, that
was a weird time for
there's a lot of stuff that I didn't like, and we were involved very much so in real estate and finance, and so there was a lot of things happening that I was just like, I could see it. I was like, I don't want to be involved with this, but I was smart enough to know that real estate and finance will be something that I do my whole life, even today, in the foreseeable future, because I do have some skills that are skills that I can use to benefit our family and benefit our group. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before. Those are skills that, like, if we don't have one or two hustles, we've talked about this numerous times. Because people are always like, oh, I got my job. And we're always like...
Yeah, it's funny that you're saying that, right? The side hustle. When I proposed to her, the only way I was able to do that was because of real estate and finance. So like it inspired me enough to want to marry her, to say, dude, I'm gonna step on the gas and I'm just gonna, like, I wanted a certain type of wedding. I know she wanted a certain type of wedding. We wanted to do things right for her father and for her family, and then for my parents too. You know what I mean? There was a great example in how my brother did it. And I was just like, you know what? That's such a beautiful way, the way they did it. I'd love to do something similar, right? And so I stepped on the gas and I just started hustling. And I was able to get her ring. I was able to get, like we were able to have a wedding of our dreams, really, and have everybody we wanted there, and in the area we wanted it, and the food and everything. Everything was what we wanted, and we didn't have any debt to that. Like, we paid it all.
How many guests did you guys have?
Around 200.
I had 350 a month.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. 200 was tough because we did have to, like, really be selective, and it hurt because there were some people who were like, dude, they should be there. But, like, it was just, that's what it was, because we wanted it at a certain caliber.
So I wanted a big, I shouldn't say, we both wanted a big wedding. We wanted, like, we're like, we're going to do this. This is going to be a one-time deal for both of us. Yeah, I ain't marrying anybody else. And if we get divorced and screw it, it's done. We don't have to do this again. So we rented out Rancho Los Lomos and for the night, on a Saturday night, and just went to town.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I took out bankruptcy because of that.
But you remember that wedding?
Oh yeah, and the fun part is because my family's full of one-uppers. Nobody's ever done it better than that. And everybody I know is always like, your wedding. Like, all
funny.
my elders are always like, mijo, that
funny.
wedding, I still remember the wedding. I had 2 different sets of mariachis.
That's so funny.
I had a trio down here, and so we were set up so we have, different things. I had high school friends here, family here, because they didn't mix well together, and white family here. And it was like a whole different thing. 2 menus. It was like,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of got me back on the horse, like just having that goal. Like, listen, we talk about it here.
Well, it sounds like she was like your structure, like
absolutely.
your foundation.
Absolutely. Look, listen, it's no secret. I'm like first off, I'm the black sheep in the family. Secondly, it's like I'm the wild card. Like I'm the wild horse.
So I'm sitting here talking to Ozzy on the podcast we had, and I'm like, wow, man, this guy, he's just like Senior. He's an overachiever. He's this and that. And I look right at it, and I was like, what the hell happened to you, man? No, and that's just a joke, because I honestly think their work ethic is unbelievable. It's like, that's one of the things that's changed me so much, is working with Abel, working with his dad, and just doing stuff here and looking at things differently. You can't deny the work ethic. And it's very, very, like, if you can understand where it's coming from, it's very, like, infectious,
Thank you for that. Thank you for those kind words. But I was just going to say the same thing about you, like your work ethic, and you've heard me say this about my wife. I could see where she got it from. Her tias, her dad, dude, her dad's, man, this guy, if you wanted someone to trust and trust your company with, that's the guy. Like, he's never going to, no matter what, even if he's sick, he shows up to work. Like he's gonna be there. It's one of those people that just shows up to work, works, and then works some more. You know what I mean? And that's something that she carries with her. There's times where she's sick and she goes to work, and she's got to do what she's got to do, and she makes it happen. Now it's a little bit different, right? Because stuff is remote, and you could do, stuff in the office or outside of the office. But still, that work ethic is there.
One thing by doing this is me and him have had a lot of conversations just about our marriages and kids and whatever, COVID, and we've had a lot of time, in here, and either angry at each other or like one thing or another. And I will say, he's always very constant, like, I'm worried about Gloria, what do you think? I'm like, dude, go home, don't worry about the place right now. We got it, and that's something that he was talking about just not too long ago. And that's what I keep telling him. And he reminds me also, is balance, right? We talk about a lot of balance, right? But for him, like he always, because I always tell him, hey man, you got freedom. You own your own business. You do this, you do that. And he goes, but I look at you, envious. You got a steady job and this and that.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to everything.
And I just go, oh, bullshit, because I hate that. I want the freedom. Mm-hmm. But I will say, with the freedom, there is a lot of things that you have to give up. And to remember the work ethic that you guys put together and you share. That's so awesome. I love hearing that story.
Well, thanks. To be quite honest, like this beautiful studio that we built.
And we're gonna talk about that.
And even this recording studio wouldn't be possible without her, because the truth is, in order for
her to give the okay on all this,
in order for me to be able to live my dream, right, have these awesome mats, like every equipment. I mean, you know this, and obviously she knows this because she's seen the price tag. Everything we've put in this place is top notch. Like there's nothing better. Like we always choose the best, right? And it's done because we're gonna use it and we're gonna make good use of it. And obviously, on my side, I have the pressure that we invested this amount of money on it, buying the best, right? So we better damn well make it happen. And so for me, it's do or die, right? But without her trusting me and entrusting, our family savings, money, time, resources, like none of this would have happened for any of us. We wouldn't have this amazing place to train at and work with the community.
So when this is all,
thank you, babe.
When this was all going down, that's the conversation me and him would always have. I'm always like, have you talked to your wife about this, Abel? You're going into this. Are you sure you've talked to your wife about this? And it's like, because this is gonna come into play into your marriage. Have you talked to Gloria about this? Yeah. And which I know he probably has, right? He just doesn't, as guys, we don't want to hear somebody like patronizing us, like, Yeah. And so I'm like, no, seriously. You need to have this hard conversation. You're going to start this own business with a bunch of other knuckleheads, when we have this dream, but it's a different reality, And he would always tell me, oh, it's a collective, right? Until those first few bills started coming in and during COVID. And I was like, oh, is it a collective now? Hey, well, come on, man. And he would like butt heads over that. And I would be like, and it was just because I came from a different perspective. Yeah. I didn't come from that business perspective. I came from like, you need a steady paycheck. You need to make sure things are coming in. Like,
right.
You need to not carry everybody.
And I think that's very much her mentality. Like, she has a lot of stability in her job, and it's always been like that since she left college, got her master's, got licensed, all that stuff. Her trajectory has been like, it's measurable. Like you could see where she's going. You could see how she's moving. She's moving fast. She's climbing that ladder really fast. But you can see that the stability in the type of job that she chose and what she does. And for me, it's extremely the opposite. It's like way on the other side of the spectrum. For me, if I don't show up, if I stop working, I don't get paid. It's not a company that's going to call me and say, hey, why didn't you show up to work? And that's kind of part of the freedom, right? It's cool to have that freedom. I don't have to show up today. But guess what? Your paycheck's going to show it in a month or two. Yeah. If you continue to make those choices, you know what I mean? And you'll suffer for that. The family will suffer for that,
So how I knew you were all in is first time we go up to see Amy, and we're there as a group. And
for people at home that don't know, Amy is a longtime friend, family friend, and family lawyer.
Yeah. And we're going to have her on, hopefully.
Yeah, we are going to have her on. I actually did talk to her about that. She's known me since I was a kid.
But we came in the room, right? And I'm usually like the guy who always says the inappropriate things and, whatever. And I'm just BSing in there. And I could tell Gloria was all business. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. She's the force in the relationship. Abel's the spark plug. Yeah. He gets things going, get everybody riled up. But she's the one going like, bottom line, Abel. I saw that, and I know that's true. So.
Yeah, and it's a great team, I think, because ultimately, you need a dreamer, you need a visionary, and then you need the person that applies the details to what you want to build, right? So I can think of a pyramid, right? But you need the people that are going to do all the measurements to build that pyramid, right? And that's what she is. She's definitely the structure behind all of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that was fun going in and seeing all that and making sure that, okay, yeah, let's move ahead.
How awesome was that day?
Yeah, that was pretty
Walking
awesome.
into that place and just knowing that we were starting something.
Okay, so because I started so late in life, like realizing who I am and my roots and all this stuff, walking into that building and then looking up at her wall of lawyers, I was like, it's like Wakanda for us right there. You know what I mean?
For
It's
Latinos.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like
I felt the same way. I was inspired.
Like skyrise, and then there's like all these floors with they could see everything. Like to the end of I don't know.
It reminded me that I wanted to be
a
lawyer in a past life.
And then the office we were in, like the table was like 8 times bigger than this, and then like it's just amazing.
It was like, for me, it just energized me because I was like,
and I appreciate Amy for that because I know what she was doing. She was telling us, without telling us, you're walking with power. Like, sit here. We're going to figure this out, and we're going to start this off right. The first step that you guys take forward as a group is going to be a foundation that's going to stay for a very long time, and that's how it felt. Okay, and here we are.
Here's the hard question. Right
here we go.
So,
you ready for this? Take a deep breath.
So Abel's, doing all this stuff, brokering, doing, real estate. You're working hard. You get married. Now you have Jimena. Right? Mm-hmm. And Luca's on the way, right? Yeah. And he says, I'm going to be general manager of Beach City's Krav Maga. What do you say then? Be honest. Don't give me the shit show over here.
So the thing is, to what you're saying, there was a build up to that, right? And it wasn't,
which a lot of people don't know.
It wasn't
and good.
Yeah. And we actually had been talking about for a couple years at that point that our dream, as a family, but really in support of his passion and his the realization he had that this is something he wanted to pursue about, trying to open our own studio. So it felt like the next logical step to getting the experience he needed and going in that direction. So I was really happy for him. And it was hard, actually, when he started that Jimena was a newborn, and that was I
remember that.
It was a really difficult time, and I was a little concerned only because him and Jimena have had this special bond since she was born, and it was really the help I had at night with him to like put her to bed for this first 6 months was just priceless, and I panicked thinking I can't do that by myself. Yeah. And so
I was straight up a zombie. Like, I had the night shift.
I was more concerned about that. But we adjusted. And that's when I started my career in management at Kaiser Permanente. So it was just a huge transformation in our life. It was a really big change for us. I was driving to Laguna Hills to our dual diagnosis clinic, which is for psychiatry and addiction medicine services. And so I was driving from Norwalk to Laguna Hills, about 80 miles a day. Then from Laguna, back to Huntington to pick up Jimena. And so him doing that, I mean, I think so when I was really little, I've gone through a lot, and I just had this mindset, and my uncle instilled this in me, my Uncle Terry, and he's like, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, which as a Mexican American, again, little girl, where roles were very important and rigid about like you get married and you have this track and you stay home, like that was outside of that, like dreaming of accomplishing something was just not explored. But my aunts had that passion. They were just like, look, we didn't get to do it, but you do it. You do whatever you want. And so they were, again, my family was just rallying behind me, and they knew how strict my dad was. So they were always there to just, cheerlead. And so I've always had this thing of like, you can accomplish whatever you set your mind to. And I wanted to be a role model. So, unbeknownst to me, and I didn't want these barriers for my family, for my sisters when they were born. And now, one of them has her master's from UCLA in social work. The other one graduated from like math or statistics from UCLA. My other cousins, one of them is going to get her doctorate and go to Chicago. She's at UCSB. Wow. They're all, I'm so impressed. But for them, it was an option. It was a choice. Like, oh, you want to go to college? Which one? It wasn't like, why are you going to college? So to me, it's always been really important to support someone in doing what they love and they're passionate about. I mean, life is too short. So I wasn't going to sit there and say, what do you mean you're going to do that? Now, as a family, it was an adjustment and it's been hard. You know, I don't see him Monday through Thursday. He works evenings and I'm the opposite of him. I like to wake up.
Here, though.
I like to wake up before the sun comes out. You know, if I could get up at 5, that's a good start to my day.
And this is what the interesting part is, that she wakes up so early and her workouts are in the morning. Like everything for her is in the morning. Yeah. Like you can put us side by side and we are completely the opposite. My workouts are in the evening. Like everything I do is in the evening, you know what I mean? So it's just the way it is.
So to me, it was more about like, that's his dream. And so what can I do to support him? And I don't want to oversimplify it because yes, you're right. In a relationship, there has to be compromise and that commitment to managing the difficulties and the change, which we've had plenty of. And so I guess it was part of the territory. But you know,
I like that one.
So, you know, I knew that it was I knew that it was a matter of when and we were planning for it. So the planner in me knew that was happening and I thought, what do I have to activate for us, you know, to be ready for that. So I do the books for the studio and, you know, we talk about like the purchases and things like that. And so I have my career and then on the back end, I'm worried like about, you know, stuff to help keep the doors open here. But I fully trust him to make the decisions to make it work. So when he says, you know, I need to do this or that, yes, sometimes I have to have that difficult conversation about timing or, you know, price tag. And, you know, and I still kind of take a step back to say, it's just a matter of when. So just let me know what it is and we'll figure it out. And it's not always exactly when you want it, but we'll figure it out. Because again, I just want him to, you know, do what he's passionate about. I really believe in giving people the space to do that.
That's nice.
If you build it, they will come.
That's nice. That's just nice.
They will come.
I have a feeling it's been more complicated than that.
It's very.
Marriage is always a little more complicated.
Did you ever watch that movie? Did you ever watch that movie, Pursuit of Happiness? I don't know if you guys at home have seen it.
You know what? I actually have never watched that movie.
Oh God, you got to watch it. There's a scene where after he went through hell and back, the person hiring him at the firm. I don't know if you remember this scene. They're sitting like this in a beautiful table, beautiful office, and there's these men that are in suits, and they call him in, and he runs inside, and he sits there, and then they go, hey, so, you know, out of hundreds of people, like, we chose you. You got the job, right? And this is after, like, just hell. And his eyes just get kind of watery, and then one of the guys goes, hey, so was it easy? Was it as easy as you made it look? And then his eyes from being red then the tears started going, right? But then by that time, we've already seen what he went through, and it just gets you, man. Really? And so, like, this, like, we summed it up, but, you know, there's so much that we've been through, and there's a reason why we're so tight, like, and that she trusts me and that I trust her in these types of decisions and where our future of our family is going to be and stuff is because, you know, like, even before Jimena, we had 9 losses. There's been nothing easy in our lives. Like, since we met, everything, like, I'm building a foundation, even from just like the relationship that her and I are today, to our business, to our household, to her career, to relationships outside our immediate family. Like, there's been so much, like so much. And at this point in our lives where we're at today, we look back and we don't say all the details because her and I know what we went through, but we feel solid. I feel like our boxes have been checked and we've taken care of business. Like, we haven't given up.
Well, being kind of like looking outside in on that, you can see the hard work and when there's the hard work and the work ethic and the good family and the support system, you can tell. I mean, we're surviving because of that. You know what I mean? We're doing what we need to do. So I see it. I definitely see it. And I appreciate it because he has this hard conversation, right? And one day I go, you know, I'm going to open my own little studio off to the side, just a little niche thing, or I'm going to run this for you while you're doing something else. You know, one day, because I'm older, I only got like 7 more years and I can retire. And so I can like do my own little thing on the side. But then I tell my wife this, and she's like, "Are you crazy? You're not able. She's the opposite. She's definitely not like. I wouldn't say she's not supportive. She's just very like.
Yeah. So there's two parts to that, right? So like, there's a part where like she supports me, and that's awesome, right? Everybody sees that. But there's the other part where I'm asking to cash a check, right? And that's the trust check. Like
I've seen it. I know.
So like she's saying, okay, I'm gonna give you $190,000, but okay, now that you have it. Right? Now that you have it, right? Like, that shit better happen.
Hey,
like, there's no options.
I've been with him when he's purchasing crap, right? I've been with him. And we were out buying carpet, the rugs that we pull out of here. And Abel.
Oh, the AstroTurf?
Typical Abel, right? Look at this one. Oh, my God. Imagine this. And I, like, touch it. I was like, Abel. Abel, that's like the Louis Vuitton of freaking grass right there, dude. I was like, I think we can go a little better,
he's
man.
totally exaggerating right now. You're being ridiculous.
I believe you.
I swear to God.
I believe you.
This is what I thought you were going to say.
This is him.
Yeah.
I did. Actually,
That sounds about
that's a
right.
lie. I took off my shoes, took off my sock, and I ran my foot through it. That's what I did.
And then I told him, listen, Abel.
Because, listen, we got kids out there, right? What's more important than our kids? Right?
And this is what I told him.
And I said, listen.
We had an argument just like this right outside there.
I want to hear what Gary has to say about it. So what'd you tell him, Gary?
So I told him, I said, listen, so you don't get a divorce. I think I've dealt with a lot of kids in youth sports, and we've done a lot of AstroTurf and whatever. I think this one might be a match. He agreed with me eventually.
Yeah, it was middle ground for sure.
Yeah, it was middle ground. I wasn't going like concrete with a little bit of fur on it.
They had some like that.
Yeah.
It was like just.
It's like $1.98.
Yeah,
a square
like a
foot.
little,
Like,
just a tiny little thin thing.
I was like, so that your wife doesn't get mad at you, why don't you look at this? And
Thank you for that.
And I was like, and I go, work your magic, dude, because I know he.
Well, this is what I thought what he was going to say. Before you said all this crap, I thought he was going to say Abel negotiated so well because he was watching the dollar that you had approved for.
He did watch the dollar, but I saw him first, his eyes.
He does that, yes.
Hey,
Thank you for helping him
And
out.
it was like 4 something a yard. I was like,
the guy got mad at me, huh, for negotiating too, huh?
Because I can't do that. I'm just like, just give me it.
I can't either.
And I was like, do your thing. He's like, oh, watch, I'm going to get him down. I'm like, dude, just leave me out of it. I think that's the one.
Well, look, this is what was going through my mind. I need a quality product. I want him to make some money. I want him to make a sale. But I also want something for my kids program. I also want something for our students that they're going to be proud of. Not that they're going to be like, this is what Abel went to get. Like, come on, man.
And I think we got a good turf.
The thing is amazing. Amazing.
But I did have to talk him down from.
Well, once the guy saw.
That's typical.
Hey, once the guy saw, because we had the shirts on,
And
he did too.
And he was a Jewish guy.
Is that real? You're an instructor? You teach Krav Maga? And I'm like, yeah, this is where this is going. Dude, I was like, dude, this is it.
Yeah.
This is where we're
He made
teaching
a
kids,
connection
working with
with
the
him.
community. Like, we've been teaching for 16 years. It's one group. I give him the spill. And he's like, okay, I help you. Okay, cool, man.
And
he
this
totally
is where
helped
I'm
us out.
like, oh, Abel's full of shit. This is not going to happen. And then it happens. And I'm
Worked
like,
out.
and so this is the conversation on the way home. See, Gary, you're always so negative.
Yep.
This is why you got to stay positive.
Yeah,
This
see, I
is
made it
why-
happen.
You did have a good point, though.
I made it happen, though. And then I even told him, I said, you have a customer for life. I'm going to bring you more people. What
And
did
he
I do?
did.
What did I do a week after?
He did. And we went back there.
Yep.
And I went with you. And
Yep.
we met up with your friend. I can't remember her name.
Yep. And shout out to Sergeant or Lieutenant?
It was a lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
Yeah. What's his name?
Jesse Rojas.
Scared the shit out of us.
Yeah, Jesse Rojas. So thank you for that. He's one of our dads. His son is.
So we're on the backside of South Central, and all of a sudden this sheriff's car comes out of nowhere,
just zooms
and then
onto the
pulls up-
sidewalk.
literally pulls up right next to me. And I was like, "Oh shit!" It's going
out.
down, and he pops out. He's
And he
out
had,
there.
he had all his
What's going
gear on
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
and we're just like, oh, we're about to get lit up right now.
I just got.
It was an unmarked car. That's what we're not saying. It was an unmarked car. We thought, and we're in that area, where I think Grape Street.
Yeah, Grape Street Crips.
Yeah, Crips are or whatever. And then we're like, dude, we're about to get lit up, man. What just happened? Then he comes out laughing, like smiling, and
He
we're like,
starts
oh.
to pop out. He doesn't
Yeah.
just like.
No, he's
Yeah.
like, no, he pops
He
out.
pops out, and I was like, I was chilling, seriously.
Man, yeah.
And he was like, what are you guys doing here? You should have told me. I would have come over here.
But he's the one that gave us that connect.
Yeah.
He told us, hey, go there and tell him that, that.
But then he said, don't go there. Don't go there.
When you exit, go that way. Yeah.
We were like, okay,
That's so funny.
all right, no problem.
Yeah.
Several times, though, I've been with him. And I see it in his eyes. We were at Rev Gear.
Yeah.
I think it was your anniversary or it was a date or something.
It was anniversary.
It was your anniversary.
I told you. It was raining. Remember? It was raining.
Yeah,
and I had to pick up the stuff.
Son of a bitch just freaking gets me. Like, I was like, I did not believe he would be home.
So for people at home, this is the setup.
This is a good story because I failed that one. But
yeah, this is a good story. So this particular day, we had
So what he's not going to tell you also is I'm here, right? And he goes, hey, you want to go with me to pick up some bags? It's just in LA. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably do that in 1 or 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
What he didn't know is that it was a $12,000 invoice for everything we needed here, like heavy bags, focus mitts, tubes, everything. And I just told him, like, because I needed help, right? But I didn't tell him everything because then he was going to be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it or whatever. So I just said, hey, it's down to LA. Go with me. It's kind of cool. We're going to Rev Gear because everybody knows Rev Gear. Shout out to Rev Gear, by the way. And so I had promised my wife, Gloria, that we were going to go to dinner. We were actually going to Red O, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yep, to Red O. Yeah, and we love that place. That's probably we're going to go after this. So I told her I'll meet you at 7:30, I believe it was, at Red O. After you get out of work, I'll meet you there, and we'll have a nice dinner, And I had told Gary that we were going to L.A., so we hitched up the trailer, the open trailer, not the closed trailer, and the double axle trailer. And so we're going, and it started raining, and we're like, oh, my God. Like, we didn't bring the cover trailer.
So, no, it did. He's making it sound like, oh, it was just a rain in Southern California. No, it was the worst rain that we've had in Southern California. In the middle of driving on a bumper-to-bumper freeway.
Yeah, it was. And then we had to take an alternate route down the 210 to get to Van Nuys because there was accidents. And then so maybe our trip turned into what, like 4 hours, 4.5 hours?
4.5 hours.
To get there, to get to Rev Gear.
Yeah.
Then we have to load. Then it's still raining. So, and then this guy's like, dude, you just spent all this money and you're going to destroy it because by the time we get home, everything's going to be soaked. It's all leather stuff. Yeah. Like it's going to get destroyed.
I'm all over him. I'm like, dude, you chose today. Why did you choose today?
So pissed.
I was pissed. I was like,
and then I was like, and what did I tell you? Do you remember what I told you?
You said, yes, I do remember what you told me.
It's meant to be.
It was meant to be. It's going to happen. Don't worry. You worry too much, Gary. You need to just chill out and just worry about getting home and everything will be all good. Oh, fuck you, Abel. Fuck. I'm this time my anxiety's like, I'm like.
That is very stressful. Yes.
My
he does do that often.
And he's just like nonchalant, right? And he's like, and on top of it, I need to be back by 7:30. And here it is, like 6.
Yeah, it was like 6.
And
that's very common of him.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm like, so now I got anxiety here, and now I'm thinking, poor Abel, this is his fucking anniversary. And poor Gloria, I'm in the middle of this now.
But the good thing is I had reservations. So I knew that was taken care of. And I knew that it wasn't going to rain because it was meant for this studio to be here. And I knew it wasn't going to rain on the way back, right? You didn't believe me.
I did not.
Yeah. And I told Gary, I said, it's not going to rain, dude. This is meant to be. And we will get back in time. I said, I'll back in the trailer. You guys can unload it and I'll go meet her up. It's all good.
So I wouldn't say he lied. He never does lie.
He lies by omission.
Yeah. So by this time, it's 6:15. We're finally just not even on the freeway yet. And Gloria calls. Honey.
Yeah, where you at?
He put it on speaker, and I'm like, don't put it on speaker, dude. I don't want to be in your argument. Don't put it, I'm thinking like.
We don't argue. She just gives me the look.
No, I heard it in her voice. I even told you hung up one time. I was like, oh, she's pissed. Gloria's pissed. I want to hear her pissed.
Hey, if she's arguing, she's not mad.
Yeah.
If she's quiet and gives you the look, she's mad.
No, she goes like this. I remember, because usually you guys are all lovable. I love you too. All of a sudden, that call. I remember that call. It was like, okay, click. Oh, I was like, oh. She's mad. I was like, they finally got a chink in the armor right there, right? And I was like, dude, we're not gonna make it. Maybe you need to start.
Hey, listen, I was happy.
I can tell. So let me explain my side of the story. So I'm sitting there and hearing all this, right? Gloria calls back in like 2 minutes, like, honey, who's with you? Gary. Well, can't he drop you off at home and drive back? And I was like, I just got to telling him, dude, I've never driven a car like this with a trailer, so I don't know, but I'll try if you want me to try so you can get there.
But what did I say? I was like, nah, dude, this is good.
He's like, he literally does this. Puts the seat back. We're good. We're good.
And she was mad. She goes, all right, I'm just telling you. And she hangs up.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I was like, oh, crap. I'm in the middle
I'm like,
of this.
it's going to be good. We're good.
Dude, I've had some friends that like just drop me in the middle of like that type of stuff. So I was like, oh, man, now it's not going to be my fault.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I remember that. So, okay, I got to pee every 15 minutes. I'm old, man. So every once in a while, I was like, whew. Right? We'll have to stop in here all the time. I was like, you son of a bitch, you're going to make me hold this?
I told him, you got to
You're going to make me hold this. I was like, he's like, just hold it. Don't be that way. I'm going to say the nice word. He's like, but usually he's like, don't be a bitch. Just come on, you can hold it. And I'm like, oh, man. And then finally he goes, I got to get gas. I was like, oh my God, you got to get gas?
He's like, dude, you're not going to make it all the way to Newport. Newport, yeah.
Yeah, it was Newport.
Well, Newport for your reservation.
Like, dude, you're not going to make it. Yeah. I was like, yes, we will. I'm going to fill up. Traffic's going to clear up even more.
So even worse. Then he goes in. He goes, I know the area.
Oh, we couldn't get in that thing, right?
We couldn't get in and out of the damn. And then I go, well, I'll use their bathroom, thinking we're at a pit stop. He's going to take him 5 minutes. I go in. No, it's for employees only. Get out of here. I'm like, oh, I'm going to piss my pants.
We were like in Inglewood or something.
Yeah, right? and then I go, screw it. So I told him I'll sit in the back seat. I was in the back seat. I was like, if I pee, I'm blaming on Jimena. Like, this is Jimena's spot right now. I was just playing. And he's like, dude, don't worry. The universe is taking care of this. This is I'm like, son of a gun. I swear to God, he pulled in. The Uber car was there. Brett, we unloaded it, and he went to dinner with you and made it with like...
And I got there on time, 7:30, and it didn't rain. By the way, it did not rain. Can you say that, please, to people
It did not rain.
It did not rain on the way back. Nothing got wet. Everything was perfect.
He puts me through so much anxiety when I go with him.
I believe you. Yeah.
We were driving. I don't know where we were driving again. Talks me into going somewhere with him.
The axle?
Yeah.
I never told her that. We almost died. Well, you almost died.
I died.
I know that.
I died.
I believe it.
I died.
I know that I would have been safe because there's a purpose for me. Dude, God's not done with me yet.
So he's driving, right? And I'm already like, slow down, dude.
I don't drive fast. Come on, man.
Like, we're driving, and literally this truck in front of us, its tire and its axle breaks off from the truck. And it's like a movie. It's coming right at it. I'm like, oh, shit.
And I just go, dude, chill out.
And it goes like this. It literally, the tire goes boom and over us.
Yeah, it totally misses us.
I was like, I looked at him, I was like.
And I'm like, I told you it'd be fine, man. I was like, come on. I pray before I drive.
Yeah, I looked at him, I was like, I'm never coming with you again. It's just like several times that this stuff has happened.
That's funny. But we're protected. Come on, you can't say we're not protected.
Yeah, we have fun when we go. But that time I specifically remember, I was like, oh, Abel's going to get an argument. I get to see this one.
That's funny. Hey, so going back to this. So recently, right, there's been a big change in your career, right? You went from working at a place that you absolutely love, and then you had an opportunity because we always have a mentality of growing. Even if we're happy somewhere, we feel like we push each other and ourselves to continue growing and find other places, right? Because we always say that being stagnant creates a swamp, right? Being stagnant just stops growth, right? And so you had an opportunity to move closer to where we want to eventually live and being closer to the family, closer to the kids' school, closer to this school, to our business. Yeah. And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I've been there a week and a half officially at the Harbor MacArthur Clinic, psychiatry clinic. And I have to say the drive to pick up the kids at the end of the day is, just...
Holy crap, you're really close.
So much nicer.
Yeah, you're close.
It was pretty stressful. So I was out of the Euclid Medical Office, which is the largest psychiatry clinic for Orange County. And that one is off the 91 off of Euclid.
In Anaheim, right?
Yeah, which is really cool because you learned a lot there. It was the largest psychiatric department
Yeah.
for Kaiser in Orange County,
Yeah.
you're gonna learn, right?
Yeah, so that's why I started.
I might have run into Gloria over there.
Maybe.
No, I'm kidding. So I was a therapist there for 6 years, and that clinic is actually very close to our house. And so when I was at Laguna Hills and the opportunity came up to go to Euclid, it was a game changer, just being close to home, just that morning drive. But picking up,
Well, then you have to do
but then I
that.
have to go to Huntington.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I still counted my blessings because the other drive was just torture.
Laguna
and
was hard,
it was
dude.
hard.
It was hard on the whole.
It was like a
everybody- on all of us, on the
12-hour
whole
day.
family.
So that 405, people that don't realize that 5 and that 405 intersection there, depending on which way you go, is just as bad
Even-
as any other California
Even if you take the
freeway.
toll roads are
Toll
just-
roads are ridiculous because now everybody takes a
Yep.
toll road.
So-
and so it's really not paying a toll other than paying the toll.
Yes, because eventually where I needed to take the 91, that's when it started to bottleneck. So, again, it was a good opportunity in my career. I had, expressed interest in being in management for a long time. And so I was really looking forward to the opportunity, but, being new parents and him starting, his leadership role and it was like a 12 to 13 hour day to, just get to work, be at work and get home. So Euclid I always call it the motherland. I started out there, I was there for about 6 years first. And so I knew most of the staff and I felt really comfortable, and I was the assistant manager there. But I just got like 2-3 hours of my day back. And for a while I didn't know what to do with it because I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm not just sitting in my car in traffic. And so when Harbor came up, I think for where we're at now and things that I don't really get to do, like I don't take the kids to school or pick them up. I haven't really been able to come to the studio or watch him in on our private lessons. There's things where just being at Euclid and
Game changer,
and
like
just
you said.
coming to Huntington, it takes 40 to 50 minutes by the time I get out of the office and come here. But the kind of silver lining in all of this, and the reason I actually made the change was, again, I'm really a big proponent in like dreaming about things and making them come true. And so last year I was really telling him it's time for us to buy this house we've been talking about buying for so long. And finally, I don't know, it was maybe January, February, I said, we're doing it. Like, this is it. We're doing it this year. It's going to happen. And so that was like a Friday. And then Monday I find out that, and I really meant it when I said, this is the year. Like, I was like, that's it. There's no reason we're not doing it. But that Monday, this position opened up. So I felt like I put it out to the universe. Like, I'm going to be closer. I'm going to be by, Costa Mesa, Fountain Valley, not only closer to the kids right now, but closer to our new house. So I just felt like I put it out to the universe, and
they responded.
And so if I make this move, it's really because I'm going to be closer to home.
So-
right. So my new home. So that was the driving thing.
Her new home in Huntington Beach.
Yeah. So I mean, and that was really
Not
it.
Garden Grove.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it's going to be in this area.
Pretty sure it's gonna be Huntington.
So-
I mean, we had tried to
So
try
and
to
him
do
go
certain
back
different
and forth,
different
right?
avenues and stuff, but yeah, I think it's gonna.
This
probably
is
be Huntington.
where he gets like, it's Garden Grove. It's better than where I was at. I was like, I grew up in that area, man. Go to Huntington Beach. Can't afford it right now. You will. You'll eventually afford it.
Well, what it was is we were looking for
Yeah,
an
you're just
opportunity,
being cheap.
like the money part.
It's just you.
I was looking for an
It's you.
opportunity. I was looking for an opportunity to invest in something and fix it, make it better, and then rent it out eventually, so that we had more rental properties
Bro.
as opposed to.
Your investment is here, right? And your family needs a nice structured home that you can have a school system and all that. She's earned it.
Yeah. Oh
Time.
no.
Go Huntington.
No,
That's
there's
it.
no. There's
it.
there's no.
We're done. We're gonna move on.
Yeah, there's no argument. There really isn't.
Yeah.
It was just the options that we had, and it's
Yeah.
good to have options.
Or Fountain Valley. You can
Yeah.
live in my neighborhood.
Yeah, Fountain Valley is nice too.
Hey, I'm a good neighbor.
So, that's what we
I'm a good
put-
babysitter too.
Watch out.
I take that back.
yeah.
I will say that.
You've seen my kids. No, I just, to me, it was about, I had no need to leave where I was. I was, very happy there. And out of my 10 years at Kaiser, about 8 of them were there. So this was really about like pursuing a dream and like really envisioning it coming true. And the person that I'm working with I'm his assistant manager, Dave Pearson. He's really been a mentor for me, for many years, and one of my biggest cheerleaders. So I thought, that it would just be a nice opportunity to work with someone who I know I work well with. Plus, like I said, just this idea of having this thing to look forward to. But for now, leaving the office and being that close to the kids, I could just feel it like, oh my God, this would be amazing. Like the day we get here, anywhere here, like this is just going to be phenomenal because I've been commuting since I met him.
So in the 90s, I've always lived in the area, but I used to commute to Pasadena and then back to LA and then back down to Orange County. That was my route for Pepsi.
It's killer, man.
And driving like 300 miles a day, people don't realize that
it's a toll.
That eventually your back starts going.
Your mind, man.
Your mind, you fall asleep. There's all kinds of issues that you deal with physically, not just.
Something that I've seen and that I don't know if I've told you this before, but I've seen you like leaving like footprints in every place that you go as your career has gone. Like I remember when you told me about the program that you started in Santa Barbara for the inmates, when it came to mental health and all that, and that's still running. And then you went to like Leimert Park area where you were working with people that were from a socioeconomic background where maybe they didn't have access to all the things that we're used to today, right? And I saw you leave your print there with those kids and that community, and with a lot of the parents as well, because you were also helping them. And then I saw you move on to where you were helping out. You were working at a domestic violence a shelter that was ran by nuns. And I saw the imprint that you left there with not only the nuns, not only the kids and the parent and the moms, but with the nuns. I saw that you built something there, and you were really careful of how you dealt with the people there, and what type of environment you were cultivating for mental health. And then I see that you continue to work, and then you're just this exceptional therapist that just people seek and ask you questions because they know and you've also left an imprint with your cohorts and your peers. And then I see you move into this management position where at first nobody saw you, and then all of a sudden your hard work, your tenacity, your smarts all paid off, because all of a sudden you're being looked for to fill these spots that are big spots and serious jobs. And I just wish that in what we're doing here with our business, that somewhere along the way I have some influence in our instructors, in our team, in our community, with the kids, with the teens, with the adults. Like I hope that in all this work that we're doing, all these sacrifices, because it's a risk, it's a gamble. Nothing is guaranteed. We could have been wiped out by COVID, and then everything I promised my wife and everything would have not happened, right? So far so good, so we'll knock on wood on that. But more than that, more than just the school being successful and us making some money, because ultimately we do need to make some money to live, right? But more than all of that, I just hope that someday I have stories to tell that way too, that I worked with these great people that supported us in these crazy adventures that we're doing by opening this business and a martial arts studio and this podcast, and then I'm able to look back someday and just say, well, look, I left my imprint there, left my imprint there. So you're definitely someone that inspires. I'm sure that it's not just me. I'm sure that other people around you. And I just want to thank you for being a good wife and being supportive and continuing to inspire me, because that's ultimately what makes us better.
When you edit this, can you put like a little bit of like violin and music behind it so that you can earn your points a little bit?
No, man, you just got to speak from the heart. That's just what it is.
Points, ding, ding.
No, I mean it. I really do. And I know she knows that.
Thank you.
So just two more things. Okay, so you hear about this and COVID hits. That's like an oh shit moment for everybody. I'm sure it was for you. And then to have a double oh shit moment where he goes, me and Gary are going to do this podcast. I think I'm going to buy some microphones.
Well,
Well, I'm smarter than that. I didn't frame it like that.
yeah. So, I when I heard the way COVID was described, I told him and he didn't believe me. And I said, no, this sounds like it's going to be around for a long time.
Because they said 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
I
I
was
told
like,
her, okay,
no.
it'll probably go for a month.
And I said, no, we need to plan, the planner and me. And again, I'm so behind the scenes, but I'm like doing the numbers.
Sure.
So I was like, we need to plan for this studio being closed through June. And he didn't believe me. But this was before things were like officially announced as a pandemic and closed.
In the healthcare business, you're probably hearing.
And you know, I'm a realist. I just keep it real. I'm like, look, this is a virus. Like, you know, I'm thinking this sounds like the signs of something that, you know, is big.
Not only that,
And
but like
so-
her history, the way she grew up and the like how she had it figured out for college and for all these moves that she did on her own, like that planner in her is always saving for a rainy day. Always, right? Always. So that's part of that.
Yeah. So I did the math. And I was like, this is, you know, and he was like, no, it's not going to be this time frame. I'm like, okay, but we should be ready. And to his credit, he did a lot of legwork to keep things where they needed to be. And again, that's his business sense and just his vision for the studio. So that I entrusted in him. I was like, I'll do the books, I'll do the math, and then you do what you think you need to, you know, keep us afloat. And so when he told me about the mics, you know, I think this is where I really, you know, appreciate his creativity. I know that he does, you know, I have to do.
She's a therapist, dude. Come on, she knows how to word it.
I have to do the talking down like you, right? Like the great example with
the coloring book.
Yes, I have to say, well, what are our options here?
You're at the dinner table and it's like,
Yeah.
Coloring book.
Like I said, I'm off the clock, so no, I don't want to spend my time at home doing that. But you know, he was so creative before people kind of got a sense of this, you know, to do things virtually and to do Zoom. And I was really impressed because I'm not always very flexible or creative that way. I can give you hard facts. I look at things very black and white and objectively, but I do really appreciate his ability to kind of to just think outside the box. And so it was a hard time because not only are we losing money, but like we're investing money, right? Yeah. And I agreed with him that that for us to get through it, we needed to do that. So when he talked about the mics, I mean, it was uncomfortable, but you know, I wasn't gonna say no, right? Going back to pursuing just like your passions, and I thought I don't understand it, but what I do know about him is that when he's really into something, he does it well.
Yeah. And
so I don't want to just shut it down because I don't understand it. But it was something that I was like, I don't know about the time or the money, but okay, we'll figure it out, right? Like we'll go back to figuring out. Let me go back to the numbers, and we'll figure it out. And you know, every time that he thought of something as a opportunity to pivot and to adapt, something else came into play that gave us the opportunity to then make that move to buy, you know, equipment, to buy the mics, and so it always works out. And I think with time and that ability to know that it somehow always works out, even when it's difficult, I'm not too worried about it. Like, yes, I can be practical, but I don't see it as doom and gloom, right? I'm just kind of like, okay, this is going to be a difficult, or sometimes I have to say literally no, or just wait. But it's kind of like a temporary thing. But it does always create something really good. And so, you know, I'm really proud of what you've developed and the fact that you have your following. And I think like he so sees something here, and I just feel like it's a matter of when.
So I agree with you. I think anything he does it well, and it turns into something, right?
Hey guys, I'm in the room.
Right? Yeah, good. I hope you feel like that. He's made me feel like that for a long time. Like,
Yeah, they're talking to me about me like I'm not in the room.
one day I come in, and these guys were all here, and I was working. I didn't have any. I was always working during COVID. And so what I would do is I would come here from work just to check on them, because I was like, this can't be healthy that you guys are all just like
Just cooped up in
here together, especially that group.
Yeah,
It's
nobody else.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a, they're all a little bit of different personalities. I was like, I'll just go in. So we would sit down and start having these conversations and start laughing. And then I go,
And I needed that at the time, to be quite honest.
and then I go, and I wasn't really being serious, but kind of, that type of thing. Like, and I said, you ever think of doing a podcast? I go, this is the type of stuff they do on podcasts. I would love to do a podcast one day. Thinking that it was just banter between us, right?
Because we were pretty much doing it anyways.
Yeah.
We were talking all the time anyways, and then, across the table.
And then all of a sudden, I go, all right, I'll see you on Thursday, Come in, and he's like, boom, there's a mic. We're doing a podcast. I was like...
And we did it at the office.
Yeah. And so he's the type of person that does that stuff. I'm not used to people like taking what I say and saying, hey, that would be a good idea, and saying, yeah, let's do something. And then getting creative. And I mean, I'm used to getting creative. I come from that background, but
You got some backing.
I got backing. I got somebody to actually go, let's do it.
I believe in you.
I did not believe
I believe in you, and I think that you're funny, and I think that you're sincere, and I think people like that. People need that in their lives.
The first mic, I was like, oh, cool, one mic, hey, I'm cool with that. That's cool. And we start doing it, and I just think this is going to be something we do to get us through this time, All of a sudden, we get a little better, and we get you going. When you start seeing
the first 10 are not good, guys. By the way, if you haven't seen the first 10, don't. We leave them on there just so you guys see how much we progressed.
But when you go, holy crap, 4 people watched. Yeah. It's like a little adrenaline rush. Like it was me and you probably 3 times. Who was the other one? We're trying to figure that out. Somebody watched it, right? And all of a sudden he's like, I think we could get good at this. I think we have good chemistry. And I was like, yeah, me too. Yeah. Me
You're
too.
bullshitting me.
I am. I'm just bullshitting. Hey, well, whatever you think,
Yeah,
me
sure.
too. So then all of a sudden he goes, dude, come in Thursday. Okay, come in Thursday. This room is cleared out. And he's like, this is the podcast room. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
There was none of this, though. None of this. None like
and I go, cool, not even a table yet.
Yeah.
And I go, man, that's sweet. I thought this is for something. Okay, sweet, no problem. And then he goes, we're not going to do one today. I got something on order. I'm going to surprise you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Come in the next day, I see the motherboard, and I see all this stuff, and I'm like, first thing, because I think about my wife with everything. So first thing I tell him, I was like, dude, what did Gloria say?
It's the first thing he said.
I was like, this is good equipment, dude. Like I DJ'd, I know sound equipment. I was like, dude, you bought some good equipment. And he's like, no, you can't do anything unless it's he kind of just like plays it off. And I was like, oh, dude, are you okay at home? I was like,
he's like, is everything okay?
So when I, told my dad, just sign the papers, I will figure it out. And I've always worked. I started paying the loan he took out on my behalf, which was, I believe, $10,000
to go to school.
To go to school for my freshman year. And the payment for that was $100 a month, which in 2000 was a lot of money. Right, still is.
Yeah.
But I'm 18, so I get a job. And
$1,800 a month.
Yeah. And I start paying the $100 a month within 6 months because it's a parent loan, so you don't have the same grace period. And so I paid that loan until I graduated from my master's, and I paid it off. But when I said I'm going to buy a house, the house was purchased, and within 2 years of that. And so I feel like with this situation, when I see that he really believes in something, I want to find a way to make it happen. But the part of me who feels like I can accomplish anything I set my mind to is really parallel to supporting his determination to accomplish certain things. And so I figured we're going to figure it out. Like we're just going to, and fortunately the stability with my career, has really, my income had been a backup to this. So there was that personal investment of like, the threshold, that line is really small. So like, we can't, we have to be careful that it doesn't hinder our ability to just be okay at home.
Yeah.
Right. And if needed, right. And if needed, then we do still have like an opportunity to move forward. It's not all or nothing. So this idea that sometimes like you invest and you're going to pay towards it, and that it's, I believe in that. And so when I see that he's doing well and that he has this passion and drive and this connection to something, my hope is to help him get there and be successful at it. And sometimes those are difficult conversations because, not only are we a couple, but then like I'm doing like the books,
business
and
manager.
so I have to say don't buy that, or or oh my, I'm not I'm not comfortable with this, but I get you're gonna do it, and so that is not easy or simple. But in my heart of hearts, I'm just like, okay, like right now that anxiety of like the wheels coming, I'm like, okay, but he does get through it and he does follow through, and that creativity, that ability to take risk is really why we're where we're at right now, which is we made it through COVID. And I'm impressed by that, because I it's not lost upon me when you're driving on the freeway and there's just all these businesses that are closed, and my heart goes out to all the folks that, lost so much during the pandemic, and maybe we'll never get it back. It was really just, they gave the last of what they had to save it. And when it's gone, like they're done with it. And not only were we 3 months in when we closed, but he figured out a way to be creative and innovative to then get through a very difficult time. And that is something that I am grateful for, and also I think speaks more volumes to his ability to use that creativity in a positive way.
So I'm grateful because I think you gave something to me also, because this for both of us, we talk about this even off the air, is a little bit more than just like the place here and whatever. Mm-hmm. This kind of like is giving us a little bit of something else. Also, it kind of gives us like us against the world attitude, because like we keep saying that nobody really believes, everybody still thinks it's like, but we've seen like, because there's so much of like a little bit of progress, and then when we do something it goes to like leaps and bounds. We're like, this is gonna hit, this is gonna get big, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I didn't start like this idea about opening up the studio thinking, well, maybe it'll be good, or like maybe we can happen. No, like in my mind, and I know that might be wrong. Maybe that is my, like that is wrong in me, right? But when I do something, there is no doubt in my mind that it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, how like a boxer has to have some ego and has to think of themselves in a certain way. Otherwise, they're gonna get eaten alive in the ring. They're never gonna make it to the top. Kind of the same thing with the businessman or a businesswoman. Like, you have to walk with authority. Mm-hmm. Even if you're shook, or if there's a slight like tinge of doubt, you got to make sure that you shut that doubt up. Like, face it in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror and say, get it together, whatever. Put that aside. You're going to walk with authority. Even if you mess up, you're going to continue walking, but you have no option to fail. And that's what I tell myself.
That leads us into our last big topic. Mm-hmm. We've kind of gone on and on. So It's been really good, because it's not always this easy to get these conversations.
One more point. So the point in this is, when people were telling me that I'm crazy, Abel, look, you shouldn't be investing right now. COVID's happening. Why are you spending money right now? And I tell them this because it's extremely like near and dear to me, and I believe in it. In Krav Maga, we attack the attack, okay? We went from learning how to survive. Okay, well, listen, we learned how to survive. Now we got to attack the attack. We're not in this little ball sucking our thumb or crying in a corner. Like, at this point, we survived the attack, right? COVID. Now we got to attack the attack. And while other people are cowering away, which, okay, fine. Like, I understand that people don't want to invest money into their business because they don't know where this is going. We decided to step on the gas and say, we're getting the AstroTurf, we're getting the iPads, we're getting the stands, we're getting the podcast room warming up. We're still going to buy everything we need out there to continue training. We're still, we did the opposite. We showed people that we think different, that we are different and that we're going to continue going, rain or shine. And that was the message that I wanted to send with that. So
now I got to add to that.
And luckily it's paid off.
The biggest thing I saw right around just after January when like the second lockdown hit, that's the first time I've ever seen him doubt a little bit, show a little bit of doubt. I wouldn't even say it's doubt. I think
I don't think it was doubt. I think that I'm looking.
It's probably the wrong word. It's
I think I'm
concerned.
Concerned because I'm looking at the numbers, and my wife and I are in. Like we're in. Yeah. You know, there's hundreds of $1,000s at this point, and so it's like that concern is my wife trusts me with this. Like she's entrusted me with this, and she asked me very little questions about the everyday stuff.
And you can tell because right around that time is when me and you start arguing about crap, just crap. Yeah. We're like a whole little couple.
Scheduling and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, and he's like, if you can't be there, I'm like, well, screw you. I don't need this. It's like, because I'm that type of person. I'm not the follower by any means. And if you're going to put some, restrictions on me, and I'm a rebel, man. I'm like, yeah, I'll show you. I'll go do something else. But it wasn't that. We kind of figured it out. And it was actually a time where the pressure.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pressure.
Pressure was just coming down. And it was coming down. Not just the business aspect. I could tell it was coming down. You guys probably hadn't been anywhere working your butts off with 2 little kids. Everybody else here was the same way. The pressure from the outside. Just trying to get back to work. Oh, God, we're still on Zoom. It's like... So... I think everybody was walking that fine line.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that being said, my last topic, it was, we're going in and we want to talk about mental health. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things I did, he knows this, and I say it freely. I used to be really afraid of it, and about 2 years ago, I dealt with a lot of depression. It hit me all at like one time. Yeah. That's where he says, like, I can tell when you get lost or whatever. I do, and I go deep, and I go deep into myself. It's not a good thing, right? Yeah. And but I also had a good friend who walked me through it and said, "Hey, you need to go talk to somebody." Not only did he, but I had Dave, and he's a therapist, and he's like, "You don't have to talk to me, man. You just need to go talk to somebody." Yeah. And at that time, I was like, I'm old school. I'm Generation X, man. I'm just above you guys. So I'm like, no. I'm kind of like probably like your dad. No, I don't need a doctor. Who needs a doctor? And I did that with cancer. I don't need to go be seen. And the day that I just said, you know what? What am I afraid of? I need to talk to somebody was probably the best day of my life.
That's cool.
Because I got to talk and actually called out on some of my own shit, and why are you like this, and start to reflect and start to think. So as a therapist, what do you suggest especially for couples, especially for people, entrepreneurs as yourself and Abel, family therapy? Yes. I mean, what's your diagnosis for something like that? How do you feel about that as a person, not necessarily a therapist?
I've gone to therapy several times for different reasons, and I believe in the work, and I love being a clinician myself. I think that what I would recommend or what I would acknowledge is that mental health isn't necessarily just talking to a therapist. It's about just having an awareness of how we view ourselves, how we treat ourselves, also how we treat others, having a healthy relationship with our environment. And it's a lifestyle, right? So that idea of like mental health and well-being, like, am I having good boundaries? Do I have healthy relationships with my spouse, with my children, with myself, with, my friends? Do I have good friends? Do I have healthy people in my life? Am I allowing toxicity? Do I have work-life balance? And then kind of empowering ourselves to know when we have to affect change, when we need to pursue it. And for some people that might take going to see a clinician to figure that out and feeling really stuck or feeling like I don't have a way out of this. This feels impossible. Sometimes you're taking a deeper dive on things that happened when you were really little. And so and you may not even think that they still affect you, but they're there and they probably drive a lot of your mood and behavior. So I think hopefully the outcome when I'm working with someone is not that they think that I'm the one that is doing it for them or that they're only better because they see me, but that they have the skills to then do that for themselves, right? To maintain a healthy lifestyle, to maintain that healthy perspective. And I think sometimes there's this misconception around happiness, and it's not that we're going to feel happy every day or that, life is going to be 100% joyful, because I don't think that's typical or normal. It's that we're just allowing ourselves to be present with both the good and the bad, and that we can manage it in a healthy way. And so maybe for some folks that's exercise or yoga, meditation, breathing, maybe it's quality time. So maybe I'm really distancing myself from, my loved ones, and I need to go back into a space where I, pursue spending time with them and having, company, and just being aware of what those behaviors mean. So maybe if I'm really kind of pulling away, like it's time to go and connect with people and just knowing like I'm not in a good place, is that when I talk to a therapist, or is it I push myself a little bit and, go hang out with my friends, because the longer I'm kind of separated from people, maybe the worse I'm going to feel. So, and that looks different for all of us. And we're night and day. Like I'm more of an introvert and he's very social. So the way we would cope with a difficult situation is so different. So we can't just say this is how everybody's going to be better or content or satisfied, and to what you were saying earlier when we started about, trades and, that diversity and like the things that we pursue. I think that's really the epitome of just being satisfied and content and happy, is doing the thing that you feel happy about and that you love. And that's not always attached to a degree or like a 9 to 5, and we all thrive in different spaces. So if I'm doing something that I'm genuinely unhappy about, then what am I gonna do? And that's part of that mental health component, to do something different or to see the situation in a light that allows me to see, how is this serving me? Like, how is being here serving me? I'm choosing to be here, because that hopelessness or that feeling of just being stuck, like, I can't get out of this, is really, I think, what sometimes is what gets us stuck.
What's crazy about that? Oh, 100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was stuck for sure. Mm-hmm. I was in the muck, you know what I mean? It's like, but I also learned about accountability. Mm-hmm. I also learned, you were just talking about it. Everything's a choice. You mm-hmm. have a choice. Mm-hmm. People don't realize that you have a choice. Like, I always like, no, I don't have a choice. Yeah. I don't have a choice. You have a choice. Part of it is having a plan, thinking about things mm-hmm. ahead of time. Yeah. Not being, because I'm a in the moment person, and I was too much in the moment. Like, yeah. I didn't do enough work to put it out there. So what it was is I just kept having the same problems come right back, And I think when people learn that, and they can learn, like Abel says, they're red flags, right? Mm-hmm. Right? You can learn your red flags. It's a way to grow and get healthy. And I'm pretty happy about that. And this right here, this room, is actually like done a lot for me, because I'm able to talk and kind of say my mind and go back and forth, and we talk about stories about growing up, and every once in a while I'll tell him a story, and he's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm like, what are you sorry for? You had a really hard childhood. I was like,
because we talk about trauma, right? We talk about trauma. And,
I don't see it as trauma, but it probably was traumatic.
Well, like nobody. So I knew that trauma existed, but nobody made me see trauma more than our doula. Mm-hmm. She said something really simple. You remember, in her soft, kind of calm mm-hmm. voice, and she said, "Well, think about it. A child is in the womb, is protected, is warm, it's inside its mom, it's cozy, it's comfortable, everything's perfect. The sound, the temperature, the food, everything. Like everything is there, and it's just perfect. It's a perfect world, perfect universe for that baby. and then it's evicted. and it comes out violently, and it comes out tumbling out, and now I have to breathe. I didn't have to breathe before. Now I got to breathe. Now I got to eat and drink. I got to find where the food's at. Like, I got to do that on my own, right? And now I got to deal with this environment, this new environment. The other environment was a lot cozier. We are born into trauma.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I
and
agree.
she said that. And from that point on, I look at my friends, you know, like, I care about you, Gary, and I know you know that. I tell you I love you, and then you start acting all weird, and you start cussing at me because he doesn't know how to act when I tell him I love him. But part of, like, me continuing and being responsible about, like, this podcast, it wasn't only for my wife because of the money that we invested into this, but it's like, dude, like, I want my friend, I could see that you like doing this. I want to back you on that because you've backed me on everything on the mats. Like, you've backed me on everything in this crazy adventure that we're putting together by opening this business and this studio for the community. And so, you know, you scratched my back for so long. The least I can do is join you on this journey with the podcast. And I could see that you love it. And it's really cool that you're part of this and that I'm part of it with you. You know what I mean? And we're creating this, like, awesome book of data that we're recording. You know, the voices and the people that are in here. And we're going to have this amazing, like, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5, 20 years from now, the type of people that we're going to bring in and talk to, and just the time of just sitting down, communicating, sharing these stories. I mean, it's just going to be invaluable to me. That's what I think.
Oh, I agree. And I believe in it now. Before I was kind of like, yeah, okay, if you say so, Abel, you know, yeah. But I also think, just touching back on to mental health and therapy, and I think nowadays a lot of people, you guys will experience it. You'll be hitting teenagers, and I think so. My older one, with my older boy, I was my mother. My mother had a strong hand. Right. I had a strong hand with my older one. My boys are 9 years apart. So my younger boy does not need a strong hand. Does not need somebody pressuring him. Is a good student, even though he has challenges, and is a good kid. And my older one, I was like, come on, let's get it. The younger one, no. So when I was going through therapy, I had to re-examine my relationships with my boys, right? It was hard because I had to see a lot of myself, and like what I didn't like, and what, you know. So it was really hard, but you guys are going to go through it. I can already tell. Jimena's a handful.
She's fierce.
Yeah, she's fierce. And we're trying to find those avenues, right, for her to channel.
She's a free
that
thinker,
energy.
I can tell.
She is.
She doesn't take no for an answer.
She is a free thinker. And that's part of the issue that I see so much of myself in her. And I'm already a strict person. Like, you guys see me on the mat, like when I teach and stuff like that, and the way we run the place and stuff. Like, I know I'm strict, but with her, I'm even more. And I know I got to be aware of that. So I control the amount of that I do, because I see so much of her in me that I don't want her making the same mistakes that I did. I don't want her, you know, acting the same way I did. But ultimately, it is a blessing that she has so much of me in her. Like,
ultimately, it's just you're guiding her. The rest is up to her, right?
Well, luckily, I got an expert with me.
That's what I'm saying. But even the expert's going to need some help with this one, I can tell.
Yeah.
I agree.
So the first time I met Jimena, I came in, I think it was at the other studio, and she just went, right? And I was like, oh, and I love kids. That's like my thing. I did, 2 years of.
She growled at him.
And I believe it.
And I told him when I wanted to teach, but I wanted to teach grade school. So I went in and I learned a lot of like early development, child development, and stuff like that. So she growled at me, and I was like, oh my goodness, you're so scary, right? So first thing I said, okay, I'll drop to a knee and I'll sit here and I'll talk to her. And she's like, I don't want to talk to you. I was like, oh, okay. And kids don't usually do that to me. Usually I'm like the whisperer, and
oh, man.
I was like,
oh, sorry about that. I didn't know that. Sorry.
I get kids though, so I get it. And I was like, well, it's okay. I don't want to talk to you. Why don't you want to talk to me? Oh, because, you don't want to talk to me. That's okay. I was just going to play. What do you mean? And what? And next thing you know, then it became, But then the second time, because I see her periodically. I don't get to see her all the time like Mr. Brad. And she'll see me and wave. And then the next time I see her, she's doing a class, right? And I'm all, Amanda, I went like that. And she did this. You said she did that. And she went like this to me. But I did it in front of Esperanza.
Oh, jeez.
Why are you trying to get her in trouble?
Yeah, Esperanza, dude.
Esperanza looked at me and then went like this to me. And I went, sorry.
Cut it out.
I'm sorry.
Cut it out.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time she's looking over
funny.
like.
Yeah.
So there was one time, right, during COVID, he had no babysitting. So he's bringing him in here and I'm cracking up.
Yeah, that was tough.
So
that was so tough.
That was so
yeah,
tough.
a lot of like people don't know that stuff.
But to see his wheels, like his confidence get like knocked down a level was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, there's no way that you can work.
See, dads,
There's no way.
When your confidence level, because dads can get confident over anything and probably boast her too much, but when kids bring him down a whole notch, man, and he looked like he was
That
like
was
having
tough.
a day.
You actually, you know what? Shout out to the Martin family, Doug Martin, Andrea Martin, and Shannon and McKenna. If it wasn't for them, I don't know what we would have done.
They helped us out.
They
many
jumped
times.
in. They're like, Abel, you keep that studio alive. We'll take your kids.
So,
and
there was one day they were not here. It was Abel and the kids and I think Brett, and I was like, oh, I'll go in and see what you're doing. I walk in and I see his face and I was laughing. I was like, hey, I'll play with him. Yeah, I got to use the bathroom. And he took his phone in there, so I knew he was going to be in there forever, right? Like,
Yeah, that sounds right, too.
Yeah.
Sounds like a break time.
Yeah, it was a break time for sure. And I was like, no worries, I'm good with kids. Dude, by the time he got out, I was like, I got to go.
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
Done.
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 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
Oh, she had me rolling around on the mat. She had me chasing
Yeah,
after
no,
her.
they're a handful.
Yeah.
It's in a good way, but they are a handful. I mean, it just is what it is.
She's just, no, it's a total good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, total good way. You got to get her in a sport. She's definitely one that needs to get
Well,
into
she's doing, she's doing Krav Monday through
no,
Thursday,
a
and then
sport.
Yeah.
Where dad's not involved in it, mom's not involved in it. Sport.
Well,
Swimming.
Yeah. Well, we'll get her into stuff like
because it's only going to make her smarter. And I guarantee you, coming from a coach that's dealt with nothing but Division I athletes for a long time, the kids that are already smart, especially at that age, will become even smarter once they're able to get all their wiggles out, man.
Yeah.
It's the wiggles, dude. I'm telling you. And then when I was talking to his dad, I was like, is he just like Abel? Oh my God, she's just like Abel. Oh my God. And I said, do you like watching him? Oh, sometimes I'd rather go to work.
That's funny. No, but my dad loves it. He says that, but he loves it, man.
Shout out to Senior.
Yeah, he wouldn't have it.
He's one of my favorite people.
Well, you know what, babe? Thank you for your time. I think
for sure.
Yeah,
we had a great conversation.
Yeah, I think that was a very good conversation. It's nice. It's nice to have you here because,
Thanks
at
for
home.
inviting me.
Yeah, at home we watch this together every now and then, and it's kind of cool because we'll be able to kick back and have a glass of wine and watch this.
He didn't check his phone, so hopefully he recorded all.
Hopefully I recorded everything. Hey, listen, guys, I've never said I was a producer. I moonlight as a producer, so I'm still learning, guys. I'm still learning all this stuff. But thank you guys for being patient, babe. Thank you for coming here. And any final thoughts? Anything you want to say to anybody out there? We have people from all walks of life. Some people are looking to grow in their career. Some people are just looking to grow, like personally. And then, we have people that come and do martial arts. We have people that are first responders, law enforcement, and military backgrounds. Anything you want to say to anybody out there?
My thoughts with that is, take a step back and take an inventory and just decide if what you're doing is your jam and you're happy with it, and Godspeed, and enjoy that you're doing something that, really appreciate that you're doing something that you love. And if there's anything you feel really stuck about, really we create our own rules, right? We have this paradigm that we've developed over time of what's right or wrong, and we feel this pressure from our family to be something or do something, and really that we bestow upon ourselves, and we can change if we really wanted to. And not to say it's simple. I don't want to oversimplify it. To the story with my dad, I mean, at this point we have the best relationship we've ever had. I love him dearly. And I enjoy talking to him. And I don't know if I could have imagined a relationship like this when I was young. It was difficult. And so I think that, if you're in a toxic relationship, or if you hate your job, or if you, whatever, or wish you went to the beach more often because you live in Orange County, think about it. And then what do you want to do? What do you need to get to the thing that you think would make you happy? Or not? It's not to say because you think that'll make you happy or that'll be the magic solution, but I think it's good to have something to look forward to and work towards than feeling stuck in something miserable or that makes you unhappy.
For sure.
With no way out. So, I really do believe in just thinking about something, envisioning it, and pursuing it. And then again, if it's working out, then great, and appreciate it. It's so easy to also take that for granted and say, what's next, right? Because sometimes the opposite of that is that we're so competitive, right? We're like chasing something and maybe we have it all, but we're, the neighbor just got like the new car, like there's a new computer. I just bought my phone and now there's a new one. And that is so exhausting. And so even when you have things that you wanted 5 months ago, now you have it in front of you and it's not enough, So I think to slow down and just really appreciate when those things happen and celebrate them is really one of those things that help us feel good.
That's a great message.
It is a good message. That's a very good message. I appreciate you coming. I thank you a lot for just giving me the opportunity with Abel and building something new here. So yeah.
Very cool.
A pleasure.
Exciting.
Thank you.
Mr. Gary, where do we find you?
Gary H72 on Instagram. Also Gary and Abel Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. We're also on.
So Simple Man 0707 on Instagram, Black Belt Collective on Facebook and everything else. Obviously YouTube, if you guys are here already, it's Black Belt Collective. My wife doesn't do any social media.
So I tried to, I know.
No.
Because when he
She doesn't do anything. She's like
so
dark.
I do a hard study on people, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go hunt down Gloria. I couldn't find anything on you.
She does it on purpose.
Yeah.
I
That's
like
good.
it that way.
That's good.
And I like it that way, yeah.
That's good. It made for a hard time for me, so I was like, oh,
That
man.
is so funny. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of like little snippet of my life, my personal life. We do the best to continue getting better, and you guys see who I have behind me. So if things are being ran out there, it's because of the team and because I have someone behind me that really truly supports and believes in what we're doing. So hopefully you guys are doing well, and thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Also, say hello, goodbye, because you don't know when you're going to see that last person that you see. So make sure you're always giving that pound.
Always.
That fist
Absolutely.
pound.
All right, love you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, love you, babe.